Georgia is a land of moss-draped trees, quiet hills, and history that whispers through the wind. Cemeteries, the landscape, each stone telling a story of lives lived long ago. Some cemeteries are peaceful, some are forgotten, and some glow under the moonlight, as if the graves themselves are alive. Visitors speak of lights flickering among the tombstones. Shadows move where there should be none. Cold breezes carry whispers of names long buried. Some hear footsteps when the ground is empty. Others feel icy hands brushing their arms. And in the darkest corners, figures appear and vanish as quickly as they come. Tonight, we will explore 25 haunted cemeteries in Georgia, where the dead never truly rest and where the night is alive with secrets. The stones may be silent by day, but at night they glow with a story you might not want to hear. Greetings, my friend. I hope tonight finds you safe and warm, where the comfort of light keeps the darkness at bay, and your mind is ready for stories that cling to your shadow. Georgia's cemeteries are more than resting places. Some hold secrets that stretch back hundreds of years. The haunted cemeteries we will visit are filled with glowing graves, restless spirits, and whispers that travel through the trees. Visitors report seeing ghostly lights moving among the stones. Some hear faint voices calling their names. Some see figures standing silently, watching from behind old monuments. Every cemetery has its tale. Every tombstone has a secret. And every night brings a possibility, a glow that should not exist. Before we step into these haunted grounds, I have a question for you. If you found yourself walking through a cemetery at midnight, with the graves glowing faintly and no one else around, would you dare to continue? And what would you hope or fear to see in the shadows? Share your answer in the comments if you dare, and let us explore these haunted cemeteries together tonight. Bonaventure Cemetery in Savannah is a place of haunting beauty, where moss-draped oaks create a serene landscape by day. And as dusk falls, the atmosphere shifts, carrying a sense of anticipation, and a mysterious, otherworldly presence by night. The winding paths weave between centuries-old monuments. Visitors often notice ghostly lights flickering near the older gravestones. They appear and vanish without explanation, casting a pale glow that illuminates the etched names and intricate carvings of the monuments. These lights move subtly, sometimes darting between trees or hovering just above the ground, giving the impression that the cemetery itself is alive with unseen activity. Figures appear silently among the graves. They are fleeting, often glimpsed from the corner of the eye, and vanish when approached. Some seem to stand motionless, as if observing the living, while others drift along the paths, gliding between the tombs without sound. Their presence is never threatening, yet it carries profound weight, a reminder that the past lingers here in ways that are both visible and intangible. Whispers call out from the shadows, soft and indistinct, yet unmistakable. Visitors have reported hearing their own names, or faint conversations that vanish as soon as they turn toward the source. The effect is subtle, creating a sense of intimacy and unease, as if the spirits themselves are reaching out from another time, seeking acknowledgement or connection. The cemetery-esque architecture and natural elements heighten the sense of mystery. Stone monuments rise from the earth, weathered and ornate, with angels' crosses and figures carved into their surfaces. The live oaks draped in Spanish moss sway gently in the night breeze, their branches forming shapes and shadows that play tricks on the mind. The combination of light and shadow, stone and tree, creates an environment where the ordinary rules of perception seem to bend. Paths wind through family plots and historic sections, each with its own character. Some areas feel more active, where lights flicker more frequently and figures appear with greater clarity. Other sections remain silent, with only the distant rustle of leaves to break the stillness. The contrast between these areas adds to the cemetery-esque depth, as visitors move from one space to another, never entirely certain what they might encounter next. Visitors often describe a sensation of being watched, a presence that follows them along the paths. Even when no figures are visible, the weight of history presses gently, creating an awareness of the many lives connected to this place. Each monument and gravestone carries stories, and the spirits of Bonaventure's cemetery seem to guard them, quietly observing those who walk among the dead. The interplay of natural elements and supernatural reports makes the experience immersive. Leaves rustle in patterns that suggest movement beyond the trees, and the air feels charged with subtle energy. Visitors report chills, sudden shifts in temperature, and the sense of invisible eyes tracking their steps. The effect is cumulative, layering physical sensations with psychological impressions, deepening the overall sense of presence and mystery. Bonaventure Cemetery has also been the site of countless personal experiences. Guests often feel compelled to pause, to listen and observe, noticing details that might otherwise be overlooked. A flicker of light on a distant tomb, the shifting shadow of a tree, or a whisper carried on the breeze can evoke powerful emotions, blending awe, curiosity, and a quiet reverence for the unseen. The cemetery is a place where time feels fluid. Moments stretch and contract, and the line between past and present blurs. The names on the stones, the lives they represent, and the fleeting apparitions all seem to converge into a single narrative of memory and presence. Visitors become part of this narrative, even if only temporarily, participating in the ongoing story of Bonaventure Cemetery. Despite its eerie reputation, the cemetery retains a remarkable beauty. The moss, the trees, and the intricate monuments create a visually stunning environment that is at once comforting and unsettling. This combination of aesthetic appeal and mysterious activity draws both historians and thrill seekers, all seeking a connection to the rich tapestry of lives that have shaped this place. Bonaventure Cemetery is not a location of sudden terror or graphic hauntings, but rather a subtle and profound engagement with the unseen. Lights, figures, and whispers create a cinematic experience for those who visit, layering sensory details with an understanding of history and human mortality. Each path, monument, and shadow contributes to an atmosphere that is complete, immersive, and enduring. By night, the cemetery becomes a world unto itself. Flickering lights, silent figures, and soft whispers combine to create a sense of continuity between the living and the dead. Visitors leave with impressions that linger, memories of experiences that defy simple explanation, and a newfound appreciation for the layers of presence within this historic landscape. Bonaventure Cemetery is a reminder that beauty and mystery often coexist. The moss-draped oaks, the ornate monuments, and the subtle paranormal activity invite exploration, contemplation, and respect. It is a space where stories are preserved not only in stone and memory, but in the quiet, haunting energy that permeates the air, offering an unforgettable experience for those who walk its paths after dark. Laurel Grove Cemetery in Savannah stretches across historic grounds, a quiet resting place for generations past. The pathways wind among weathered tombstones and ancient oaks, their gnarled branches casting long shadows beneath the moonlight. At first glance, the cemetery appears serene, almost peaceful, yet a closer presence reveals a layer of mystery that lingers just beyond perception. Visitors often speak of glowing apparitions drifting along the pathways. These ethereal figures move silently, their forms faint yet unmistakable. They seem aware of those who pass by, yet they remain distant, fading when approached. The apparitions evoke a sense of both melancholy and wonder, as if the past has not fully relinquished its hold on the present. Soft cries sometimes echo through the cemetery, delicate and fleeting. Footsteps can be heard along the gravel paths, though no one is present. The sounds are subtle, often discovered only when silence deepens, and the wind carries faint whispers through the trees. Visitors report that the atmosphere intensifies at night, the darkness amplifying every sound, shadow, and shimmer. Certain graves appear to shimmer under moonlight, their surfaces catching light in ways that defy explanation. The effect is brief, almost like a reflection of unseen energy, and disappears when approached directly. These moments leave a lasting impression, a subtle reminder that Laurel Grove holds more than just history. The very ground seems imbued with memory, where the past interacts with the present in silent conversation. Walking among the tombstones, the sense of time feels altered. Every footstep seems amplified, yet other sounds arrive from impossible directions. A rustle among the leaves, a soft sigh carried by the wind, or a sudden chill along the spine reminds visitors that the cemetery is a place where ordinary perception is challenged. Shadows stretch and shift in unusual ways, and the outlines of trees and monuments create fleeting illusions that vanish the moment they are fully seen. Some visitors report seeing figures in period clothing, moving among the gravestones as if attending ceremonies from long ago. These glimpses are brief and spectral, leaving only the feeling of being observed. The presence is neither threatening nor hostile, yet it commands attention, drawing visitors to pause and consider the lives and stories that remain embedded in the cemetery. The atmosphere of Laurel Grove Cemetery is heightened by the dense canopy of ancient trees. Moonlight filters through the branches, illuminating patches of the ground, while leaving others in shadow. The interplay of light and darkness creates a cinematic effect, a natural stage where the supernatural seems plausible. Figures can appear suddenly from these shadows, blending seamlessly with the environment before fading away into the night. In some sections of the cemetery, paths narrow and gravestones lean precariously, their inscriptions worn by time. Here, the sense of history becomes palpable, and the air feels charged with lingering presence. Visitors describe sensations of cold drafts that do not correspond with wind, and moments where the quiet is broken only by the subtle, unexplained movements of leaves or soil. The environment feels alive with stories, a silent witness to centuries of lives remembered and forgotten. The haunting presence at Laurel Grove is not confined to sight or sound alone. Some report a feeling of weight in the air, a subtle pressure that brushes against the body as they pass certain graves or statues. It is as if the cemetery itself is aware of its visitors, acknowledging their intrusion into a space long settled by the departed. Each step taken evokes both curiosity and caution, a reminder that this is a place where the boundary between the living and the past is unusually thin. By the time night deepens, the cemetery transforms into a realm where ordinary experience feels suspended. The glowing apparitions, soft cries, shifting shadows, and shimmering graves merge into a continuous presence that envelopes visitors. Time seems to stretch, and moments linger, leaving an impression of being part of a larger story that continues beyond human understanding. Laurel Grove Cemetery is a living archive of memory and mystery. It is a space where history is not confined to records and monuments, but is actively experienced through subtle signs and unexplained phenomena. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness of the past, a sense that every path, gravestone, and shadow hold a story waiting to be perceived. As dawn approaches, the supernatural presence recedes, leaving the cemetery bathed in gentle light. The quiet and solemnity return, yet traces of the night-esque experiences linger in memory. Laurel Grove Cemetery remains a site of reflection, wonder, and mystery, a place where the lives of the departed are never truly gone, and where each visitor becomes part of a continuum that stretches through time. The Old City Cemetery in Macon holds a quiet presence that stretches across time. At first glance, the cemetery seems peaceful, a solemn resting place bathed in soft daylight. Yet as night falls, the atmosphere shifts, and the space reveals a layer of mystery that has captivated visitors for generations. Lights are often reported moving among the old tombstones. These are not the ordinary reflections of passing cars or lanterns carried by other guests. They drift slowly, weaving between monuments and casting elongated shadows across the ground. Observers describe a sense of deliberation in their movement, as though the lights are following unseen paths that have existed long before any visitor arrived. Figures appear silently in the distance, often at the edge of perception. They are not always clear, sometimes glimpses of shape between the trees or behind a row of tombstones. The figures remain still for moments, watching or waiting, and then vanish without a trace. The brief encounters leave a lasting impression, a sense that the cemetery is shared with entities that observe quietly from the shadows. Whispers drift through the empty rows of stones, carried on the night air. They do not originate from a single source, and they seem to echo with a purpose that is both elusive and compelling. Visitors describe hearing their own names whispered, or phrases that dissolve before they can be understood. The sound is subtle, yet it penetrates the silence, making the cemetery feel alive in a way that is both unsettling and mesmerizing. The mausoleums add to the enigmatic nature of the cemetery. Doors occasionally lock themselves without warning, leaving those nearby to wonder if they were ever unlocked at all. The sudden movement of heavy stone doors reinforces the sense that the cemetery is not entirely empty, that forces beyond human perception linger among the tombs. Each locked door is a reminder of the past, of lives remembered and forgotten, and of mysteries that refuse to remain buried. The architecture and layout of the cemetery enhance the atmosphere. Narrow pathways wind between weathered gravestones, lined with trees that sway gently even when the air is still. Shadows stretch and contract with the moonlight, creating a shifting landscape where perception is constantly challenged. Every turn in the path offers a new view, a new possibility of encounter, making each visit a unique exploration of space and history. Visitors often notice patterns in the activity. Lights move along familiar paths. Figures appear in particular areas, and whispers seem to concentrate near older graves. These recurring phenomena suggest an underlying presence, a continuity that connects the living with those who have long since passed. The cemetery becomes a stage where moments of the past are quietly replayed, and observers are drawn into a narrative that is part memory, part mystery. The surrounding environment amplifies the eerie quality of the cemetery. The rustle of leaves, the distant call of night birds, and the shifting wind all contribute to the sensation that the space is alive. Even the sound of footsteps on the gravel paths can carry an unexpected resonance, as if the ground itself responds to movement. The interplay of natural and supernatural creates a heightened awareness in those who visit, sharpening the senses and deepening the sense of connection to the unseen. Many visitors speak of the emotional impact of spending time in the old city cemetery. There is a mix of reverence and unease, a recognition of the lives that once were, and the unknown forces that linger. Encounters with lights, figures, and whispers leave a lingering impression, encouraging reflection on the passage of time and the mysteries that endure beyond life. The cemetery becomes more than a resting place. It is a repository of memory and presence, where history and the unexplained intersect. For those who explore the cemetery at night, every step carries a subtle tension. Figures may appear at the periphery, whispers may brush against the mind, and doors may shift as if moved by invisible hands. These experiences are not violent or threatening. They are quiet, contemplative, and deeply immersive, inviting a connection with the space that is both intimate and mysterious. The Old City Cemetery is a testament to the passage of time and the persistence of memory. Its tombstones, mausoleums, and winding paths create an environment that is visually striking. And atmospherically charged lights drift among the stones. Lights drift among the stones, figures emerge in the distance. And figures emerge in the distance, and whispers fill the night air, all combining to create a sense of continuity between the living and the departed. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness of presence and history. The experiences in the cemetery linger, shaping perceptions and sparking curiosity. Each encounter, whether it is a fleeting light, a silent figure, or a whisper from nowhere, reinforces the idea that the cemetery is more than a place of rest. It is a living archive of stories, shadows, and quiet mysteries that invite observation and reflection. The experiences in the cemetery linger, shaping perceptions and sparking curiosity. Each encounter, whether it is a fleeting light, a silent figure, or a whisper from nowhere, reinforces the idea that the cemetery is more than a place of rest. It is a living archive of stories, shadows, and quiet mysteries that invite observation and reflection. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness of presence and history. The Old City Cemetery in Macon remains a place where the past is never truly gone. Figures walk silently among the tombstones. Lights drift through the darkness, and whispers echo across the graves. Doors of mausoleums lock and unlock unexpectedly, adding to the sense that the space is watched, guided, and remembered. Each visitor experiences the cemetery differently, yet all leave with the awareness that this is a place where the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist in quiet, haunting harmony. Here, among the rows of stones and the aged trees, the old city cemetery offers a unique experience. It is a place of reflection, history, and subtle mystery, where every sound, shadow, and movement carries meaning. The lights and figures remind visitors that the stories of those who came before continue to linger, making the cemetery not just a final resting place, but a living testament to memory, presence, and the unexplained. Rose Hill Cemetery in Macon is a place of history, solemnity, and quiet reflection. Its grounds stretch across rolling hills, lined with weathered tombstones and ancient oak trees. During the day, it is serene, filled with the gentle rustle of leaves and the occasional song of a bird. Yet when night falls, the atmosphere transforms, and the cemetery takes on a more mysterious and haunting presence. Shadowy figures wander the grounds at night. Visitors have reported fleeting shapes moving between gravestones, their outlines blurred but unmistakable. These forms glide silently, almost purposefully, along the pathways and through the open spaces, vanishing as quickly as they appear. The air grows heavier with each step, as if the presence of the past has settled into the night, observing quietly and waiting for those who dare to walk among the resting places. Some report glowing lights near certain graves. These lights are soft, almost ethereal, casting an otherworldly glow on the surrounding stones. Witnesses describe a sense of calm mixed with unease, a feeling that something is watching over graves with silent vigilance. The lights do not illuminate in a conventional way. Instead, they seem to pulse gently, hinting at secrets hidden within the cemetery's long history. Visitors feel cold hands brushing their arms. The sensation is sudden and fleeting, sending a chill through the body. It can happen while standing still or walking, sometimes accompanied by a whisper or a faint sound that cannot be traced. The touch is light, almost delicate, yet impossible to ignore. Those who have experienced it describe a heightened awareness of their surroundings, a sense that the cemetery itself is alive in some subtle, spectral way. Whispers call out names long forgotten. These voices are soft, drifting across the night air, and often come from directions where no person stands. The words are sometimes recognizable, other times indistinguishable, but they always carry a weight of history. Guests recount hearing these names repeated in the silence, creating an unsettling yet mesmerizing connection between the present and the past. The whispers seem to rise from the earth itself, as if the memories of those buried here continue to linger and communicate across time. The cemetery's design enhances these experiences. The trees sway and groan in the wind, their branches forming shapes that flicker like specters in the darkness. Narrow paths wind through the graves, leading to hidden corners and forgotten markers, making each step a journey through both space and memory. The combination of architecture, vegetation, and nightfall creates an immersive environment where the ordinary and the supernatural intersect. The quiet of night amplifies every sound. Footsteps on gravel seem louder, distant calls carry farther, and the wind through the trees becomes a voice in itself. The tension is not aggressive, but it is persistent, a constant reminder that Rose Hill Cemetery holds more than memories alone. Each grave becomes a potential focal point, a place where the living and the unseen meet in fleeting, intangible ways. Interactions with the unexplained are subtle but deliberate. A shadow may pass behind a gravestone, a faint glow may appear near a marker, or a whisper may reach the ear from an empty space. These events are not threatening, yet they evoke a sense of reverence and awe. Visitors describe the feeling of being part of a story much larger than themselves, a narrative that stretches across centuries and continues to unfold with each quiet night. The ground themselves seem to breathe with history. Shadows stretch and retract, forming shapes that appear almost human. Light shifts unnaturally among the trees, and the cool night air seems to carry messages from the past. The cemetery becomes a living environment, a place where time feels fluid and the presence of those who came before is tangible. Visitors leave Rose Hill Cemetery with a lasting impression of its mysteries. The combination of ghostly figures, glowing lights, cold touches, and whispers creates an encounter that is both haunting and captivating. The cemetery is more than a resting place. It is a repository of memory and presence, a space where the stories of the past continue to resonate in the silence of the night. Each visit becomes an intimate experience with history and the unexplained. The pathways, tombstones, and shadows of Rose Hill Cemetery hold secrets close, revealing themselves only to those willing to walk slowly, observe carefully, and embrace the subtle touch of the unknown. By the time guests depart, the lingering sense of the cemeteria's otherworldly presence remains, a quiet reminder that some histories are never truly at rest. Rose Hill Cemetery offers a unique journey into the unseen, a space where the living may feel the whispers of the past and the presence of those long gone. It is a place where memory, history, and mystery intertwine, creating an atmosphere that is both hauntingly beautiful and profoundly moving. Those who walk its grounds at night find themselves immersed in a narrative that transcends time, a story that continues to unfold in the quiet moments beneath the shadowed trees and the ancient stones. Oakland Cemetery in Atlanta is a vast, historic resting place, sprawling across rolling hills and shaded by towering oaks. By day, it is a serene landscape of monuments, gravestones, and winding paths, each telling the story of lives once lived. As night falls, the atmosphere changes, and the cemetery takes on a mysterious and haunting quality that captivates the imagination. Ghostly figures are often reported near the mausoleums. They appear briefly in the corner of the eye, standing motionless, observing the living before fading into the darkness. Some seem to move along the paths with quiet purpose, their forms pale and indistinct, leaving only a lingering sense of presence. These apparitions are rarely threatening, yet their sudden appearance can send a chill through those who encounter them. Visitors have described hearing music and faint laughter drifting through the grounds. The sounds are soft, almost ethereal, and seem to originate from no visible source. Classical melodies, the soft strumming of a guitar, or the delicate hum of voice are among the auditory phenomena reported. The laughter is brief and fading, echoing across open fields or winding through clusters of gravestones, leaving listeners with a sense of both wonder and unease. Some graves emit an unnatural light, glowing softly in the darkness. The illumination is subtle, often appearing as a gentle shimmer or a more pronounced radiance, highlighting the inscriptions and carvings on the stones. These lights seem to appear at random, sometimes accompanying the presence of figures, and other times standing alone, as if the earth itself is casting an otherworldly glow. The cemetery's architecture and natural environment enhance the eerie atmosphere. Angels, crosses, and other figures carved into stone create shadows that stretch and twist in the dim light, forming shapes that the mind cannot always define. Towering oaks, draped with moss, sway gently in the breeze, their branches casting moving shadows that seem almost alive. Paths wind through the cemetery, connecting family plots and historic sections. Some areas feel more active, where figures and lights are seen more frequently, while other sections remain quiet and still, disturbed only by the rustling of leaves or the distant call of nocturnal birds. This contrast between active and silent spaces creates a sense of unpredictability, keeping visitors aware of their surroundings and attentive to every subtle change. Many visitors describe the sensation of being watched. Even when no figures are visible, a quiet pressure seems to linger, as if the lives of those interred are observing the living. Each grave, monument, and shadow carries the weight of past lives. The presence of spirits seems to guard these stories, preserving them in the quiet of the night. The interplay of light, shadow, sound, and temperature contributes to the haunting environment. A sudden chill, the rustle of leaves, or a faint glow on a distant monument can heighten the sense of mystery. The experience is layered, drawing attention to both the visible and the unseen, and creating an atmosphere that feels cinematic in its scope. Visitors often pause to observe these details, noting the subtle movements and sounds that suggest activity beyond the natural, and creating an atmosphere that feels cinematic in its scope. Oakland Cemetery is also a place of history and memory. The lives commemorated here range from notable figures to ordinary citizens, each contributing to the tapestry of the city's past. The spirits and phenomena reported do not erase this history. Rather, they enhance the sense of connection, reminding visitors that the stories of the living and the dead are intertwined. Walking these paths at night becomes a meditation on mortality, memory, and the persistence of presence. Despite its haunting qualities, the cemetery retains a striking beauty. The balance of natural landscape and architectural grandeur creates a space that is both contemplative and visually stunning. Monuments rise like silent sentinels, and the interplay of shadow and moonlight transforms the cemetery into a stage for subtle paranormal activity. The interplay of shadow and moonlight transforms the cemetery into a stage for subtle paranormal activity. Moss-laden oaks frame the paths, monuments rise like silent sentinels, and the interplay of shadow and moonlight transforms the cemetery into a stage for subtle paranormal activity. Moss-laden oaks frame the paths, monuments rise like silent sentinels, and the interplay of shadow and moonlight transforms the cemetery into a stage for subtle paranormal activity. Visitors report moments that linger long after leaving the grounds. A flicker of light on a mausoleum, the distant echo of music, or the sudden appearance of a figure can imprint itself on memory, evoking a mixture of awe, curiosity, and a quiet respect for the spirits present. These encounters are often fleeting yet deeply memorable, offering an intimate connection to the unseen residents of the cemetery. As night deepens, Oakland Cemetery becomes a world unto itself. Figures drift silently, music and laughter echo faintly, and gravestones emit their mysterious light. The boundary between past and present seems to dissolve, and visitors are left with a profound sense of the living history and lingering spirits that inhabit the grounds. Oakland Cemetery is a place where beauty, history, and the supernatural converge. The combination of natural elegance, architectural detail, and unexplained phenomena creates a deeply immersive experience. Those who walk its paths after dark leave with memories of encounters that defy explanation, a heightened awareness of presence, and a lasting appreciation for the enduring mystery of this historic Atlanta landmark. Westview Cemetery in Atlanta stretches across acres of historic ground, a silent city of the departed. The winding pathways are lined with grand monuments, weathered gravestones, and towering trees whose branches weave a canopy that filters the light, creating shadows that seem to move with a life of their own. At first, the cemetery appears peaceful, a resting place for those long gone. Yet beneath the surface, visitors sense a lingering presence that defies explanation. Eerie lights have been reported along the pathways. These are not the lights of modern devices or passing cars, but faint glows that appear and vanish as if carried by unseen hands. They move in slow, deliberate patterns, weaving between tombstones and monuments, leaving those who witness them with a feeling of awe and unease. At times, the lights are accompanied by subtle shift in the air, a cool breeze that brushes the skin without wind, hinting at the unseen. At times, the lights are accompanied by subtle shift in the air, a cool breeze that brushes the skin without wind, hinting at the unseen. Shadowy forms often emerge behind tombstones, blending into the darkness yet distinctly human in shape. They appear fleetingly, dissolving when approached, leaving only the impression that the cemetery itself is alive. Visitors describe the sensation of being watched, a quiet awareness that intensifies in the deeper corners of Westview. Every step taken along the gravel paths heightens the senses, as if the ground itself holds memory and intent. Some feel a presence following them silently, a companion invisible yet undeniable. It is not threatening in a direct sense, but persistent enough to stir attention. A shift in the atmosphere, A sudden drop in temperature or the faint creak of a branch overhead can signal that the boundary between the living and the departed is thinner here. Each movement to the cemetery becomes a careful negotiation with the unknown, a dance perception and intuition. Doors of old crypts occasionally open and close without cause. Heavy stone structures that should remain unmoved sometimes respond to unseen forces. The sound of a door swinging, echoing to quiet, punctuates the stillness with a reminder that Westview is not merely a repository of memory, but a space where the past interacts with the present. These moments are brief, yet they leave a lasting impression, inviting contemplation and reverence. The atmosphere in Westview Cemetery shifts as night falls. The shadows lengthen, and the interplay of moonlight and monuments creates shapes that seem almost alive. The air becomes cooler, carrying whispers of history that may be imagined, yet feel palpably real. Trees sway subtly, and the rustle of leaves suggests movement beyond the ordinary. In these hours, visitors often pause, sensing that the cemetery holds stories that are not written but live through persistent presence. Certain sections of the grounds carry a denser energy, areas where the graves of prominent figures or family mausoleums cluster together. Here, the weight of history is almost tangible. Visitors report sensations of unease, fleeting glimpses of figures, and sudden sounds that vanish upon closer inspection. The gravestones, each etched with names, dates, and epitaphs, serve as anchors for memory, connecting the living to those who have passed, while leaving room for the inexplicable to manifest. The interplay of light and shadow, silence and subtle sound, creates a cinematic quality throughout Westview Cemetery. Figures emerge and recede within this landscape, their forms influenced by the shifting natural environment. Apparitions and lights do not merely occupy space, but seem to move in coordination with the viewer's presence, a silent conversation that unfolds without words. The cemetery encourages reflection, awe, and a careful attentiveness to the unseen. Even in the absence of visible phenomena, the cemetery evokes a sense of history pressing against the present. Each pathway, each monument, carries stories of life and loss, of moments captured in stone yet vibrating with invisible energy. The sound of footsteps, whether real or imagined, echoes with a resonance that connects visitors to generations past. In these interactions, the ordinary world blends with the mysterious, creating an experience that is both contemplative and unsettling. By the time the first light of dawn touches the grounds, Westview Cemetery returns to its quiet state. Shadows retreat, the eerie lights vanish, and the presence that once felt near recedes. Yet the memory of the night lingers with those who walked its paths, leaving a sense that the cemetery is more than a resting place. It is a threshold with a living brush against the echoes of the past, where history and mystery coexist in delicate balance. Westview Cemetery stands as a testament to the continuity of life, memory, and the inexplicable. Its monuments and pathways are not only markers of the departed, but gateways to experiences that challenge perception and invite wonder. Visitors leave carrying the impressions of glowing lights, shadowy figures, and silent presences. A reminder that some stories in Atlanta are not only told but lived, quietly and persistently, within the heart of Westview Cemetery. Riverside Cemetery in Macon stretches across gently rolling land, its aged stones standing as silent witnesses to generations of lives once lived. By day, the cemetery appears calm and serene, bathed in sunlight that glimmers over moss-covered markers. Trees sway softly in the breeze, their shadows stretching across the paths, and the air carries a faint scent of earth and foliage. Yet as daylight fades, a different energy seems to awaken, and the cemetery reveals its more mysterious side. Figures often appear at the edge of the tree line, just beyond the reach of clear vision. They are rarely seen in full, often glimpsed as dark silhouettes or vague shapes that vanish when approached. Visitors describe a sense of being watched, the quiet feeling that they are not entirely alone. These figures seem to move with purpose, their presence a subtle reminder that the cemetery is shared with forces beyond ordinary perception. Whispers drift through the air, sometimes barely audible, sometimes carried clearly across the graves. Sometimes the whispers seem to come from nowhere in particular, and they often seem to come from nowhere in particular. Visitors have reported hearing fragments of conversation, soft calls, or names spoken in tones that dissolve before they can be fully understood. The whispers mingle with the rustle of leaves, creating an eerie, yet compelling, atmosphere that pulls observers deeper into the experience. Footsteps echo along the gravel paths, yet often no one is seen nearby. The sound is distinct, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. The sound travels across the cemetery, sometimes approaching, sometimes retreating, leaving visitors with the unsettling awareness that the ground itself holds echoes of those who have walked here long before. These footsteps are accompanied at times by the sensation of cold air brushing across the skin without warning, a tactile reminder of the cemeteria's presence and power. Above the graves, glowing shapes sometimes appear, hovering just above the stone markers. They vary in intensity, from faint orbs of light to more defined, almost human-like forms. Observers describe a mesmerizing quality, as if the lights are moving with intention, guiding the eye along paths between stones or toward areas of historical significance. The shapes seem to pulse softly, an unspoken rhythm that resonates with the quiet heartbeat of the cemetery itself. The layout of Riverside Cemetery contributes to the atmosphere of mystery. Shadows stretch and contract as moonlight filters through the branches, creating a shifting landscape where perception is constantly challenged. Each turn in the path offers a new perspective, a new possibility of encounter, making the cemetery feel alive and ever-changing as night deepens. Visitors often notice patterns in the activity. Figures seem drawn to specific areas. Whispers intensify near older graves. Glowing shapes appear in clusters or along familiar routes. These recurring phenomena suggest a continuity, a connection between the living and the past that transcends time, inviting reflection on the lives that once were and the mysteries that endure. The emotional impact of spending time in Riverside Cemetery is profound. There's a mix of reverence and unease, a recognition that the space is not entirely ordinary. Encounters with lights, figures, and whispers leave a lasting impression, creating a sense of intimacy with the unseen. Visitors report feeling watched yet protected, a paradox that deepens the allure and intrigue of the cemetery. Every element of the environment amplifies the sense of presence. The rustle of leaves, the distant calls of night birds, and the soft wind through the branches all contribute to perception that the cemetery is alive. Even the simple crunch of footsteps on gravel can take on heightened significance, as though the earth itself responds to movement. The interplay of natural and supernatural elements keeps visitors alert, engaged, and aware of the delicate boundary between the seen and the unseen. Riverside Cemetery is more than a resting place for the dead. It is a repository of memory, a space where echoes of the past linger in visible and invisible forms. Lights drift among stones, figures emerge at the edges of vision, and whispers fill the night air, creating a layered experience that is immersive, contemplative, and profoundly atmospheric. Each visitor experiences the cemetery uniquely, yet all sense the persistent presence of the spirits who continue to inhabit the space. The cemetery's history adds to its enigmatic character. Each stone marks a life once lived, a story that contributes to the broader narrative of the place. As shadows lengthen and night deepens, Riverside Cemetery becomes a bridge between the present and the past, where the ordinary world blends seamlessly with the mysterious. Visitors find themselves caught between admiration and apprehension, drawn onward by curiosity and a subtle sense of connection with those who remain. Figures move silently through the trees, whispers brush against ears, and glowing forms drift above graves. The cemetery holds these moments in quiet continuity, allowing each visitor to witness, reflect, and perhaps feel a small part of the stories that persist here. Riverside Cemetery is alive in ways that defy explanation, its presence subtle yet undeniable, offering an experience that is as haunting as it is unforgettable. As dawn approaches and shadows recede, the cemetery returns to its serene daytime state. Yet the impressions remain. The lights, figures, and whispers leave an indelible mark on those who walk the paths. reminding them that Riverside Cemetery is a place where the past continues to echo, and the unseen is never far away. The cemetery is a testament to memory, mystery, and the quiet persistence of spirits that linger, waiting to be observed, respected, and remembered. Decatur Cemetery in Decatur is a place steeped in history, where time-worn tombstones stand as silent witnesses to generations past. By day, the cemetery exudes calm and quiet reflection, its aged markers and towering trees offering a sense of peace. But as night falls, the atmosphere shifts and the cemetery reveals a more mysterious side, one where the past seems to linger just beyond sight. Visitors report shadows moving in the moonlight. These shapes drift silently between gravestones, their outlines blurred and fleeting. They are often seen along the narrow pathways or beneath the branches of ancient oaks, vanishing when approached. The movements are deliberate yet subtle, leaving those who witness them with a sense of being observed by something unseen. The shadows do not startle or threaten, but they carry an unmistakable presence, a reminder that Decatur Cemetery holds stories far beyond what the eye can see. Some see faint glowing lights above certain graves. These lights appear ethereal, hovering just above the ground or behind the headstones. They pulse gently, as if breathing with the night, illuminating the surrounding area with a soft, otherworldly glow. Witnesses describe a mixture of awe and unease, sensing that these lights are more than a trick of the eyes. They seem to mark specific places, as though the spirits of the past have chosen certain graves to reveal themselves, silently connecting the living with those who have long been gone. Whispers echo through the still night air. They are soft and fleeting, drifting from direction to direction without a visible source. Sometimes the words are clear, at other times unintelligible, yet they always carry weight and meaning. Guests report hearing their own names, or phrases that feel like messages from the past. The whispers mingle with the natural sounds of the night, creating an atmosphere that is at once unsettling and compelling. Each whisper seems to invite visitors to pause, listen, and acknowledge the presence that surrounds them. The cemetery-esque layout enhances the experience of the supernatural, of lives long forgotten, that seem almost human, where the line between the physical and the spectral becomes blurred. Every sound seems amplified in the darkness. The rustle of leaves becomes a voice, footsteps on gravel echo like distant whispers, and the soft sigh of the wind takes on an eerie tone. Visitors often report the sensation of being watched, a subtle pressure that follows them along the paths. It is not a threat, but a presence that cannot be ignored. The cemetery seems to breathe along with the night, drawing the living into a story that is much larger than themselves. Interactions with the unexplained are delicate yet deliberate. A shadow may shift behind a gravestone. A glow may appear above a marked spot. Or a whisper may reach the ear from an empty stretch of ground. These encounters are not violent or frightening in a traditional sense, but they leave a lasting impression. Guests describe a heightened awareness of their surroundings, feeling the weight of history and the subtle energy of those who remain in the cemetery. The grounds themselves feel alive with memory. The shapes of shadows stretch and move. The soft lights pulse, and the whispers seem to flow like a current through the trees. The night air carries a chill that brushes the skin, and the combination of these elements creates a sense that the cemetery is more than a resting place. It is a space where time, memory, and presence converge, a place where the past continues to engage with the present in quiet, unexplainable ways. A place where the past continues to engage with the present in quiet, unexplainable ways. Visitors leave Decatur Cemetery with a lingering sense of its mysteries. The shadows, lights, and whispers form a tapestry of experiences that are both haunting and beautiful. The cemetery is not merely a collection of graves, but a living archive of human presence, a location where history and the unknown intersect. Each night offers a different encounter, a new perspective, and a unique glimpse into the lingering spirits that inhabit the grounds. Each visit becomes a personal journey through history and the unseen. The paths, tombstones, and shadows offer an intimate connection to the past, revealing themselves only to those willing to notice, listen, and embrace the subtle touch of the unknown. By the time guests leave, the impression of the cemetery as spectral presence remains. A quiet, persistent reminder that some stories are never fully at rest. Decatur Cemetery is a testament to the enduring power of memory, presence, and mystery. Its grounds invite visitors to experience the whispers of the past, the glow of the unseen, and the subtle movements of shadowed figures. It is a space where history is alive, where the night holds secrets, and where the living may catch a fleeting glimpse of the spirits who continue to roam silently beneath the moonlight. Somerville Cemetery in Augusta stretches across gently rolling grounds, its aged gravestones and moss-draped oaks creating a scene of quiet reflection by day. As evening falls, the atmosphere shifts and the cemetery takes on a spectral quality, drawing the attention of those who wander its pathways after dark. Shadowy figures are often seen moving among the graves. They glide along the pathways with deliberate pace, their forms sometimes defined, at other times barely more than a shifting darkness. They pause near monuments or follow the winding lanes, vanishing when approached. The presence of these figures leaves an impression, a sense that the living are walking among the echoes of the past. Some graves emit a faint, unearthly glow. The light is subtle, casting soft illumination over inscriptions and carvings, highlighting the intricate details of stones weathered by time. These luminous graves seem scattered across the cemetery, appearing unexpectedly, and fading as silently as they arrive. Visitors often pause, captivated by the gentle radiance that transforms familiar markers into something otherworldly. Soft cries and laughter are reported throughout the grounds. The sounds are distant, almost imperceptible at first, carried on the wind and winding between the trees. The cries are brief and sorrowful, while the laughter carries a lighter, more haunting quality. They seem to emanate from no visible source, leaving visitors to wonder if the sounds belong to the spirits themselves or to the imagination stirred by the cemetery's atmosphere. Doors of old mausoleums are said to close on their own. Visitors sometimes hear the sound of heavy stone or iron doors shifting, locking without explanation. The mechanism is unseen, yet the effect is undeniable, creating a sense of confinement and heightened awareness. Those inside may feel a chill, a reminder that the past is present and the structures themselves may harbor hidden activity. The cemetery's architecture and natural elements enhance the mysterious ambience. Monuments, statues, and angels carved in stone loom over paths, their features exaggerated by flickering light and darkness. The interplay of light and shadow creates a living, breathing environment that seems alive with unseen observers. Winding paths lead visitors to the oldest sections, where history feels most palpable. Each gravestone tells a story, and in the quiet of night, the stories seem to reach out, connecting the living with the departed. Some paths feel more active than others, where figures and sounds are more frequently reported. Other areas remain silent, disturbed only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant cry of a night bird. The sensation of being watched is common among visitors. Even in areas devoid of figures, an almost imperceptible pressure or awareness lingers, suggesting presence beyond the visible. This feeling heightens attentiveness and encourages a deeper connection to the cemetery itself, where memory, history, and the unexplained intersect. Temperature shifts and subtle sounds contribute to the immersive experience. A sudden chill, the creak of wood, or a distant murmur of wind through the trees draws attention to the unseen. Shadows elongate and fade, figures appear and vanish, and the glow of certain graves add a layer of visual intrigue. Each moment carries tension, curiosity, and a heightened sense of the mysterious environment surrounding visitors. Somerville Cemetery is a place where beauty and eeriness coexist. The sprawling grounds, towering oaks, and intricately carved monuments provide a visually compelling landscape. This natural and architectural elegance frames the spectral phenomena, making the experiences of shadowy figures, glowing graves, and unexplained sounds all the more striking. Encounters within the cemetery often leave lasting impressions. A faint light on a gravestone, the sudden echo of laughter, or the unexpected appearance of a figure can create memories that endure long after leaving the grounds. These moments are fleeting yet impactful, allowing visitors a connection to the unseen and the stories that linger beyond the grave. As night deepens, Somerville Cemetery transforms into a realm where the past and present converge. Shadows drift, lights shimmer softly, and whispers carry across the pathways. The living and the departed seem to coexist in delicate balance, creating an atmosphere that is both contemplative and haunting. Somerville Cemetery stands as a testament to history, memory, and the lingering presence of those who came before. Its beauty, combined with the unexplained and ethereal, makes it a place that captivates the imagination and draws the curiosity of those who walk its paths after dark. Visitors leave with the sense that the cemetery is alive in its own way, a timeless space where the echoes of the past continue to whisper, watch, and sometimes make themselves seen. Magnolia Cemetery in Augusta spreads across acres of historic ground, a quiet city of the departed beneath a canopy of moss-draped trees. The fog rolls in from the nearby streets, softening the edges of tombstones and monuments, creating a landscape where the familiar and the unknown merge. Visitors often speak of lights that move within this mist, faint glows that drift between graves as if guided by unseen hands. These lights are not steady or artificial. They flicker and sway, sometimes appearing at the edge of the path, then fading into fog only to reappear further along. Their motion is deliberate, almost purposeful, creating a sense that the cemetery itself breathes and shifts with the night. Those who witness them often feel a mixture of awe and unease, sensing that they are encountering something that belongs neither wholly to this world nor to the next. Figures emerge silently between tombstones, their forms barely distinguishable in the dense fog. They do not move like ordinary people, but glide with a quiet, deliberate grace. Sometimes they appear at the periphery of vision, and when approached, they vanish as if swallowed by the mist. These apparitions leave an impression, a feeling that the cemetery is alive with memories that refuse to rest entirely in the past. Some visitors report feeling icy hands brushing their shoulders, sudden chills that ripple across the skin without any visible cause. The sensation is fleeting yet unmistakable, a reminder of the lingering presence that seems to inhabit Magnolia Cemetery. It is not violent or threatening, but it is insistent, a subtle insistence that the living are not entirely alone among the resting. Whispers drift through the trees, soft voices that rise and fall with the breeze. The Spanish moss hanging from the branches sways gently, carrying the sound along winding paths. These whispers are often indistinct, a blend of syllables and sighs that cannot be clearly understood, yet they create an atmosphere thick with anticipation and tension. Each step taken along the gravel paths brings a heightened awareness, a sense that the land remembers and observes. The layout of Magnolia Cemetery contributes to its haunting presence. Monuments and statues, weathered by time, cast long, eerie silhouettes under the faint glow of moonlight. Visitors note that the cemetery seems to shift subtly, the positions of shadows and the angles of light, creating patterns that feel orchestrated rather than coincidental. Certain areas carry a heavier energy, spots where historic family plots and mausoleums cluster together. These sections evoke a sense of weight, as if the memories of those interred here have imprinted upon the land. Witnesses describe sensations of being watched, the feeling that invisible eyes follow their movements along the paths. Even the quietest footsteps seem amplified, echoing faintly through the fog as if in response to unseen observers. The interplay of fog, light, and shadow at Magnolia Cemetery creates a cinematic experience for visitors. Figures appear and disappear. Lights move as though drawn by invisible currents. And the sound of the night whispers, rustling leaves, distant creaks emerge into a symphony that is both haunting and captivating. This environment encourages reflection, inviting the living to contemplate not only the lives that have passed, but also the persistent mysteries that endure. The fog thickens as night deepens, wrapping the cemetery in a shroud that blurs the line between the tangible and the spectral. Apparitions seem closer, whispers clearer, and the cold touches more distinct. Each movement through the cemetery is deliberate and measured, as visitors negotiate their path through a landscape where history and the unknown intermingle. The experience is immersive, leaving an indelible impression on those who venture into its mist-laden paths. By dawn, The fog begins to lift, and Magnolia Cemetery returns to its quiet state. The lights fade, figures disappear, and the whispers recede into memory. Yet the sense of presence lingers, a subtle awareness that the cemetery is more than a resting place. It is a threshold where the living brush against the echoes of the past, a space where history, memory, and mystery coexist. Magnolia Cemetery stands as a testament to the enduring connection between the living and the departed. Its pathways, tombstones, and trees carry the weight of centuries, creating an atmosphere where the ordinary intersects with the extraordinary. Visitors leave with memories of drifting lights, shadowy figures, and whispered voices. A reminder that some stories in Augusta are not confined to books or records, but are experienced quietly and persistently in the heart of Magnolia Cemetery. Oak Hill Cemetery in Cartersville stands as a quiet testament to centuries gone by, its rows of historic stones marking lives long past. By day, the cemetery seems tranquil, sunlight falling across weathered markers and gentle slopes, and the rustle of leaves in the wind provides a soft soundtrack to the stillness. Yet as night approaches, a different presence awakens, one that hints at mysteries hidden among the gravestones. Glowing apparitions often appear after dusk, their forms ethereal and fleeting. They drift between the stones, moving silently as though tracing old paths and forgotten stories. Visitors describe seeing lights hover above graves, sometimes pulsing softly, other times stretching into elongated shapes that vanish when approached. These apparitions create a sense of otherworldliness, turning the cemetery into a place where the boundary between the living and the departed feels unusually thin. Faint footsteps echo along the gravel paths, though no one else seems present. They are deliberate, sometimes approaching and sometimes retreating, blending with the natural sounds of night. These soft murmurs are unintelligible, yet they carry a weight that suggests presence and intention, leaving visitors aware of being observed. Shadows move subtly between the graves, shapes that do not correspond to any visible source. At first, they are easy to dismiss, but repeated encounters convince observers of something beyond ordinary explanation. The shadows sometimes follow the paths, lingering near older monuments or shifting across the lawn as if patrolling the space. Their presence adds tension to the atmosphere, a reminder that the cemetery is alive with unseen activity even in the stillness of night. The layout of Oak Hill Cemetery amplifies its mysterious qualities. A brief, sweeping pan across the cemetery reveals a sprawling expanse of weathered headstones. The shifting shadows cast by the moonlight create an air of mystery and foreboding. Each step forward feels like a journey into the unknown. History permeates every corner of the cemetery. Each marker tells a story, and the ages of the stones hint at generations of people whose lives intersected with this land. The weight of memory gives the apparitions and whispers of context, suggesting continuity and presence across time. Visitors often feel a connection to these lives, even as they confront the unsettling awareness of being watched by forces they cannot fully comprehend. Atmospheric details heighten the sense of the supernatural. The rustle of leaves, distant calls of nocturnal animals, and the soft crunch of footsteps on gravel all blend with the more mysterious occurrences. A sudden breeze can carry a whisper or shift the shadows in a way that makes the familiar seem strange. These sensory cues keep visitors aware, attuned to both natural and unexplained elements in the environment. Repeated sightings of glowing forms, footsteps, and shifting shadows suggest patterns of activity. Apparitions often appear near older graves or prominent monuments, while whispers concentrate in areas where paths converge. Shadows tend to move along main walkways, appearing at the periphery of vision before disappearing into darkness. These patterns lend a sense of structure to the otherwise unpredictable phenomena, hinting at a quiet order behind the mystery. The emotional impact on visitors is profound. There is a mixture of awe, curiosity, and unease. An understanding that Oak Hill Cemetery is a place where history and the unexplained coexist. Each encounter is unique, yet the recurring elements of light, sound, and movement create a cohesive experience that resonates long after leaving the grounds. The cemetery becomes a space for reflection, contemplation, and a heightened awareness of the unseen. and a heightened awareness of the unseen. Night transforms the cemetery into a cinematic tableau. Glowing figures drift past stones. Shadows slide silently across the paths, and whispers thread through the air. The combination of natural and supernatural elements crafts an immersive experience, making the environment feel alive in ways that are both captivating and disquieting. Visitors become part of this landscape, moving carefully through spaces where the ordinary meets the extraordinary. Oak Hill Cemetery is more than a resting place of the dead. It is a living record of memory, a stage where centuries of human presence are layered with the unexplained. Lights hover above graves, shadows weave between monuments, and whispers echo through the trees. Each visitor bears witness to a narrative that is at once historical and mysterious, an ongoing interplay of presence, perception, and the unseen. As dawn approaches and the apparitions fade, the cemetery returns to its daylight serenity. Yet the impressions of night linger. The glowing forms, shifting shadows, and distant whispers leave a lasting mark. A reminder that Oak Hill Cemetery is a place where the past and the mysterious coexist. The spirits of the cemetery persist, moving quietly among the stones, guarding the stories of those who came before, and offering a hauntingly beautiful experience that continues to captivate all who enter its grounds. Marietta National Cemetery in Marietta holds a solemn presence that stretches back through decades of history. By day, the rows of white headstones reflect the sun, each marking a life that served, a sacrifice remembered, and a story preserved. The grounds are quiet and respectful, inviting visitors to walk slowly, to reflect on the past, and to honor those who rest here. As night falls, the cemetery transforms. Shadows lengthen across the neatly aligned headstones, and a different kind of presence seems to awaken. Figures in uniform have been reported by visitors, standing silently among the graves. They are often seen in the periphery, fading in and out of sight, as if moving with a purpose that no longer belongs to the present day. Their appearance is not threatening, but it carries the weight of history, a quiet reminder of the events that shaped the nation and the lives sacrificed on these grounds. Some visitors hear distant marching and calls. The sounds are faint at first, almost blending with the rustle of leaves and the movement of the night wind. Yet the cadence of boots and the murmur of commands persist, echoing across the cemetery. It is as if the past has not fully released its hold, replaying fragments of moments long gone. These auditory glimpses draw guests deeper into the atmosphere, offering a connection to the soldiers who once walked the earth and a tangible sense of the history that lingers here. Some graves glow faintly in the moonlight. The illumination is subtle, ethereal, highlighting names and dates in a way that feels almost deliberate. Witnesses describe the glow as gentle and comforting, guiding attention to particular areas of the cemetery. It creates a sense of presence, suggesting that certain individuals remain, watching over the grounds or reaching out to the living with a silent message. The interplay of shadow and light turns the cemetery into a living tableau, where every stone, every path, and every tree becomes part of a story that is ongoing, not entirely confined to the past. The layout of the cemetery contributes to its haunting beauty, where the stories of individual soldiers can be felt more intimately, making visitors acutely aware of every sound, every movement, and every flicker of light. The encounters reported here are subtle but persistent. Figures may appear to step between rows of graves, halting and observing before vanishing. The faint echoes of marching and orders may come from one direction, only to fade and reappear elsewhere. The glowing stones mark moments of history that feel alive, connecting those who walk the cemetery with the courage, fear, and sacrifice of those who served. Each experience reinforces the presence of the past in a way that is both solemn and captivating. Visitors often describe a heightened awareness of the environment at night. The quiet of the cemetery is punctuated by whispers carried on the wind, the faint crunch of footsteps on gravel, and the subtle movement of branches above. There is a sense of being watched, not with malice, but with the vigilance of those who once stood guard. This awareness invites reflection, a meditation on fragility of life and the enduring weight of history. The cemetery specter encounters are not sudden or violent. They are drawn out, lingering, and observant. Shadows of soldiers may appear at the edge of vision. Lights may pulse faintly on graves, and distant sounds may carry across the grounds. Each element works together to create an immersive experience, one that draws visitors into the story of Marietta National Cemetery and the lives of those who shaped its legacy. The historical weight of the site is unmistakable. Every stone, every marker, and every name tells a story of service and sacrifice. By night, these stories take on a living quality. Shadows, lights, and sounds interact in a rhythm that mirrors the past, allowing visitors to feel a presence that has endured for over a century. The cemetery becomes a place where history is both honored and experienced, a space where memory and spirit coexist in the quiet of night. Marietta National Cemetery is more than a resting place. It is a connection to a pivotal era in American history. The soldiers who rest here continue to leave, their mark not through visible action, but through the subtle movements of shadow, the echo of sound and the soft glow of moonlit stones. Each visit offers a glimpse into the past, a chance to witness the echoes of sacrifice, and a reminder that some stories never fade entirely. As visitors leave the grounds, the presence of the past remains with them. The quiet marching the figures in uniform and the glowing graves imprint themselves on memory, a lasting impression of a cemetery that is alive with history. Marietta National Cemetery invites all who enter to walk carefully, listen closely, and witness the lingering spirits that continue to honor the lives and sacrifices of those who served. This is a place where the past is never truly gone, where the echoes of history mingle with the present, and where the stories of courage and sacrifice continue to resonate. Where the night at Marietta National Cemetery is both solemn and mysterious, offering a connection to a time long past, and a haunting reminder that history has a way of leaving traces that can still be felt, seen, and heard. Old Baptist Cemetery in Athens spreads across gently rolling land, its weathered gravestones standing as silent sentinels over centuries of history. By day, the cemetery appears calm, a place of quiet reflection and memory. But as darkness falls, the atmosphere shifts, becoming thick with a sense of the unseen. Shadowy forms drift silently among the graves. They move with deliberate calm, appearing at the edges of vision and vanishing when approached. Visitors often pause, sensing shapes that do not belong to the living world, figures that seem to float along the pathways or linger near monuments as if watching, waiting. The presence of these shadows imbues the cemetery with an eerie, tangible tension that can be felt in the still night air. Glowing lights are frequently reported near the oldest graves. The lights are faint, sometimes flickering like distant lanterns, illuminating inscriptions and stone carvings in a spectral glow. Their origin is unclear, and they appear to have a life of their own, vanishing and reappearing in different spots across the grounds. Visitors are drawn toward them, compelled by curiosity and a sense of wonder, yet the lights remain just out of reach, as if the cemetery itself is holding its secrets. Icy touches on arms and shoulders are described by those wandering the cemetery at night. A sudden chill or gentle brush of cold seems to pass over the skin, often when no one else is present. These sensations heighten awareness, creating a tangible connection between the living and the unseen forces that appear to inhabit the cemetery. Each encounter leaves an impression, a reminder that the night here carries more than just shadows and stone. Whispers call out names long buried beneath the earth. The voices are soft, barely audible, threading through the stillness, and curling around the trees and monuments. Some hear their own names, others recognize names from the history of the town, names etched in stone for decades or centuries. The whispers are fleeting, vanishing as suddenly as they arrive, leaving a lingering sense of mystery and the unshakable feeling that the past is very much present here. The layout of the cemetery adds to its enigmatic nature. The trees sway in the wind, their branches scraping against each other, producing sounds that echo like whispers of their own, where the shadows and lights appear with the greatest frequency. Architecture and monuments create visual markers that enhance the haunting atmosphere. Angels carved in stone watch over pathways, their faces partially obscured by time and moss. Whether crypts and mausoleums stand as silent witnesses, their darkened interiors inviting speculation about what may linger within. Each structure, combined with the natural elements, seems to be part of a living tableau, an intricate stage for the inexplicable phenomena reported by visitors. The cemetery is also shaped by the natural environment. Fog often settles low over the graves, blurring lines between path and plot. The wind rustles through the trees, carrying distant echoes and amplifying the sensation of being watched. Sound, sense, and visual anomalies converge to create an immersive experience, where every step forward brings a new layer of curiosity, suspense, and subtle fear. Encounters are often fleeting but impactful. A sudden light appearing between headstones, a shadow passing along the path, or a whisper brushing against the ears of the living leaves lasting impressions. These moments are subtle yet deeply affecting, allowing visitors to feel a connection to the history and mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. Visitors can feel a connection to the past. This connection is deeply affecting. It allows them to feel a sense of history. Mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. These moments are subtle yet deeply affecting, allowing visitors to feel a connection to the history and mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. Visitors can feel a connection to the past. This connection is deeply affecting. It allows them to feel a sense of history. Mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. These moments are subtle yet deeply affecting, allowing visitors to feel a connection to the history and mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. Visitors can feel a connection to the past. This connection is deeply affecting. It allows them to feel a sense of history. Mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. These moments are subtle yet deeply affecting, allowing visitors to feel a connection to the history and mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. Visitors can feel a connection to the past. This connection is deeply affecting. It allows them to feel a sense of history. Mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. These moments are subtle yet deeply affecting, allowing visitors to feel a connection to the history and mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. Visitors can feel a connection to the past. This connection is deeply affecting. It allows them to feel a sense of history. Mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. These moments are subtle yet deeply affecting, allowing visitors to feel a connection to the history and mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. Visitors can feel a connection to the past. This connection is deeply affecting. It allows them to feel a sense of history. Mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. These moments are subtle yet deeply affecting, allowing visitors to feel a connection to the history and mysteries of the cemetery that transcends time and rational explanation. Visitors can feel a connection to the past. This connection is deeply affecting. It allows them to feel a sense of history. Mysteries of the cemetery. As night deepens, Old Baptist Cemetery transforms into a place where the living and the past coexist. Shadows drift, lights flicker, and whispers float along the pathways. The combination of natural beauty, historical gravestones, and unexplained phenomena creates a layered experience that is both serene and unsettling. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness, a sense of wonder, and sometimes the lingering feeling that the cemetery has imprinted itself upon their memory. Old Baptist Cemetery stands as a testament to history, memory, and the persistent presence of those who have passed. Its aged stones and moss-laden trees create a visually striking environment, while the shadows, lights, and whispers remind all who enter that the night holds more than can be seen or explained. Walking its paths after dark, one cannot help but feel the weight of the past, the presence of the unseen, and the enduring mystery that gives the cemetery its haunting and unforgettable character. Oconee Hill Cemetery in Athens stretches across rolling hills, a historic resting place where time seems to pause. The landscape is dotted with towering mausoleums and weathered headstones, their surfaces etched with the names and dates of generations long past. Paths wind through grounds, shaded by ancient trees whose branches sway with the whisper of the wind, carrying stories that have lingered for decades. Ghostly figures are sometimes seen behind the mausoleums. They do not call attention to themselves, yet their presence is undeniable. Observers report glimpses of forms that vanish when approached, leaving only the feeling that the cemetery is alive with unseen observers. These apparitions are subtle, a soft disturbance in the peripheral vision that invites both curiosity and unease. These apparitions are subtle, a soft disturbance in the peripheral vision that invites both curiosity and unease. Some graves appear to shimmer with an eerie light, faint glows that illuminate inscriptions and floral arrangements. The effect is otherworldly, as if the past itself has surfaced to make itself known. The shimmer is not constant. It flickers and shifts with the motion of the wind and the angle of moonlight, creating an environment that is both beautiful and haunting. Footsteps echo along the empty pathways, sometimes in places where no one else is present. The sound is crisp and deliberate, resonating against stone and earth. Visitors often pause, unsure they're hearing their own steps or the presence of others. The echoes create a rhythm that seems to guide those who walk the cemetery, drawing attention to quiet details of the grounds and the weight of history embedded in each monument. Doors of crypts close unexpectedly, often without warning or visible cause. The sound of stone or metal moving is sudden, startling those nearby, yet carries no malice. These moments reinforce the feeling that Oconee Hill is a space where the living and the departed coexist, interacting in subtle ways that defy explanation. The closing of a crypt door, the movement of shadow, or the flicker of light becomes part of the narrative of the cemetery, a living memory etched into the night. The layout of the cemetery amplifies its mysterious atmosphere. Tall mausoleums cast long shadows across the grounds, creating hidden corners and narrow passages where light barely penetrates. Ancient trees form canopies above the paths, their limbs swaying with an almost sentient rhythm. The combination of stone, foliage, and moonlight transforms the cemetery into a space that feels removed from the ordinary world, a place where the ordinary rules of time and perception no longer fully apply. Visitors often describe a sensation of being watched, a subtle awareness that their movements are observed by unseen eyes. The feeling is not oppressive, but it is persistent, heightening the senses and drawing attention to small details, a rustle of leaves, a flicker of shadow, a sudden chill. The cemetery seems to respond to those who enter, acknowledging their presence with gentle, inexplicable gestures. Oconee Hill Cemetery also holds moments of serene beauty amid its eerie qualities. Sunlight filters through trees in the late afternoon, casting golden patterns across headstones. Birds call softly, and the wind carries the scent of moss and earth. These moments contrast with the ghostly phenomena, emphasizing the dual nature of the cemetery as both a peaceful resting place and a space filled with lingering presence. At night, the atmosphere becomes more intense. The shimmers along graves grow more pronounced. Shadows lengthen and twist among the monuments. Whispers of footsteps seem closer. Visitors report that familiar paths feel transformed, and corners previously unnoticed reveal new shapes or movements. The interplay of light and shadow, sound and silence, creates a cinematic experience, where every step feels purposeful and every glance reveals a potential for something extraordinary just beyond perception. The experiences at Oconee Hill Cemetery leave lasting impressions. Those who visit often carry the memory of figures glimpsed, lights observed, and the subtle interactions that hint at a world beyond the living. The cemetery invites reflection, encouraging an awareness of history and mortality. and the mysteries that persist when the boundaries between past and present blur. By dawn, the haunting qualities recede, leaving the grounds quiet and still. The light of morning softens shadows, footsteps fade, and the shimmer of graves becomes less distinct. Yet the impression remains, a lingering awareness that Oconee Hill Cemetery holds secrets that extend beyond ordinary understanding. Visitors leave with stories of subtle apparitions, unexpected sounds, and a deepened appreciation for a place where the past and present coexist in quiet, mysterious harmony. Oconee Hill Cemetery stands as a testament to the passage of time and the enduring presence of memory. Its paths, crypts, and monuments are not merely historical artifacts, but living witnesses to generations of human experience. Those who walk among its grounds engage with a space where history, mystery, and subtle supernatural phenomena intersect, creating an unforgettable encounter with a cemetery that is as enigmatic as it is serene. Ebenezer Cemetery in Savannah is a place where history and the unseen converge. By day, the cemetery appears quiet and solemn, sunlight streaming over centuries-old stones, moss-covered markers, and winding pathways that hint at the lives and stories of those who came before. Figures appear at the edges of the property, glimpsed just beyond the reach of lantern light. Visitors report these sightings with a mixture of curiosity and unease, sensing a watchful presence that respects the boundaries of the living, while hinting at untold stories lingering within the graveyard. Soft cries drift across the grounds during the night, sometimes seeming to rise from a single grave, other times echoing across the property as though carried by the wind. The sounds are not constant, appearing sporadically and fading just as quickly, leaving visitors straining to catch another hint of the voices. These ethereal cries give the cemetery a haunting melody, an auditory thread connecting the past with the present. Some graves appear to glow faintly, as if the very stones themselves are infused with restless energy. This illumination is subtle, casting a pale light across the surrounding area, highlighting carvings and inscriptions that might otherwise go unnoticed. The glowing graves suggest the presence of spirits who linger, refusing to be forgotten, and they create an otherworldly ambience that transforms familiar spaces into scenes of quiet mystery. Walking through the cemetery, one becomes acutely aware of the interplay between light and shadow. Ancient oaks and towering monuments cast elongated forms that shift with the moonlight, creating the impression that the ground itself is moving, sometimes forming shapes that seem almost human, adding an additional layer of suspense and intrigue to each step. The rustle of leaves overhead can mimic footsteps. Each sensory cue heightens awareness, making every corner feel alive with potential encounters. Patterns emerge for those who spend time observing the cemetery at night. Figures often appear near older graves, while whispers and cries tend to concentrate in areas with dense markers or cluster monuments. Shadows drift along main paths and along the edges of the property, suggesting that there is order within the apparent randomness. These recurring elements lend cohesion to the haunting experiences, creating a sense of continuity and purpose behind the spectral activity. The historical significance of Ebenezer Cemetery deepens a connection to the spirits that linger. Each stone carries names, dates, and inscriptions that tell of lives once lived, families raised, and stories concluded long ago. The weight of memory imbues the paranormal experiences with context, suggesting that these figures are not merely apparitions, but echoes of the people whose histories are intertwined with this land. Visitors sense a continuity of presence, a bridge connecting the living to those who have long departed. Emotions in the cemetery fluctuate between awe and apprehension. There is fascination in witnessing something beyond ordinary perception, paired with a natural tension that comes from feeling watched by unseen forces. These experiences are profound, leaving visitors with a heightened sense of awareness and an appreciation for the thin veil separating the ordinary world from the extraordinary. The night at Ebenezer Cemetery feels cinematic, with glowing graves, drifting shadows, and distant cries. Each movement, sound, and light shift the perception of the space, making the cemetery a place of reflection, observation, and subtle suspense. Visitors are drawn into the rhythm of the cemetery, moving cautiously among paths where history and the paranormal coexist. Ebenezer Cemetery is not just a resting place for the departed. It is a living record of memory and presence, a location where stories in the past remain visible in forms both tangible and ethereal. Figures appear, whispers echo, and graves glow, creating a haunting yet beautiful experience. The cemetery offers a glimpse into a world where the historical and the supernatural intertwine, leaving a lasting impression on all who traverse its ancient grounds. As night recedes and dawn approaches, the cemetery returns to its serene appearance. The figures vanish, the cries fade, and the glowing stones lose their ethereal illumination. Yet the memory of the night lingers. Visitors leave with a sense of having walked alongside unseen witnesses, an understanding that Ebenezer Cemetery is a place where history and spirit remain forever entwined, quietly preserving the presence of those who refuse to be forgotten. Cedar Grove Cemetery in Macon is a place where history and memory intertwine, its grounds stretching wide under the cover of towering trees. By day, it is serene and reflective, paths winding between weathered headstones, each marking a life and a story long past. Visitors walk carefully, taking in the quiet dignity of the cemetery, and sense the weight of the many who rest here. As darkness falls, the atmosphere shifts. Shadows lengthen across the rows of graves, moving in ways that do not always align with the natural light. Visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures glide silently among the headstones at midnight, figures that seem aware of the living, yet remain distant and enigmatic. Their presence is not threatening, but it is undeniable, drawing attention to the cemetery's hidden depths and its lingering spirits. Glowing apparitions sometimes appear over specific graves. Witnesses describe faint lights hovering in the air, illuminating names and dates that have long been part of history. Appearing and fading without warning, the glow seems to invite reflection, reminding those who see of the lives that have passed, and the stories that endure quietly and persistently beyond death. Whispers drift through the trees lining the cemetery paths. The voices are subtle, sometimes seeming to call names, sometimes offering fragments of conversation from a long ago past. They mingle with the rustle of leaves and the wind through the branches, creating a soundscape that is both eerie and captivating. Visitors often pause, listening intently, feeling the weight of the cemetery's history pressing in from all directions. Walking the paths at night heightens the sense of presence. Some feel an unseen companion moving alongside them, a gentle awareness that they are not entirely alone, or a slight brush of air suggests someone passing just out of sight. These experiences leave a lasting impression, a reminder that Cedar Grove Cemetery is a place where the line between the living and the departed feels exceptionally thin. The layout of the cemetery amplifies its haunting atmosphere. Old trees stand like sentinels, their branches forming dark arches over narrow pathways. Headstones of varying sizes and ages create patterns of light and shadow, offering corners and hidden spaces where the presence of the past can feel especially close. The cemetery's design, coupled with its natural elements, creates an environment where the ordinary senses of sight and sound are challenged by the extraordinary. Visitors have described moments when the ordinary becomes unexplainable. The air may grow inexplicably cold, or a distant sound seems to come from a place where nothing exists. Lights may flicker in the darkness, and shadows shift without discernible cause. Each of these occurrences contributes to a sense of the supernatural, an experience of history lingering just beyond the edge of perception. The spirits of Cedar Grove Cemetery do not rush or demand attention. Their presence is patient, deliberate, and often fleeting. Whispers may rise and fade with the wind, and apparitions may glow for moments before disappearing entirely. These subtle interactions invite contemplation, creating a connection between the living and the lingering echoes of the past. Despite the eerie experiences, the cemetery retains a profound sense of respect and reflection. Visitors report feeling a mixture of awe and caution, a recognition that Cedar Grove Cemetery is a place of memory, loss, and enduring presence. The nocturnal phenomena enhance rather than diminish this sense, reminding those who walk its paths of the lives honored and the stories preserved within its grounds. The combination of history and the unexplained makes each visit unique. Every pathway offers a potential encounter, every shadow a possibility, and every whisper a story waiting to be heard. The cemetery becomes not just a location, but a narrative in motion, where the past and present converge under the night sky. Cedar Grove Cemetery invites visitors to tread carefully, to listen closely, and to observe with an open mind. The shadows, the lights, and the whispers all contribute to an immersive experience, where the presence of those who have passed is tangible, respectful, and hauntingly beautiful. The cemetery becomes a space where time feels fluid, where history is felt as much as it is seen, and where every step along the paths is a step into the lingering echoes of lives long gone. By the end of a night visit, the impressions of Cedar Grove Cemetery remain with those who walk its grounds. Shadowy figures, glowing apparitions, and whispers in the trees create memories that are vivid and haunting. The cemetery is more than a resting place. It is a living story of remembrance, connection, and mystery. It is a place where history breathes quietly, and where the past reaches out to the present with a presence that can be felt, seen, and sometimes heard. Cedar Grove Cemetery stands as a testament to the enduring power of memory, the unseen lives that linger, and the quiet ways in which the past continues to touch the living. Nightfall brings a deeper awareness, a reminder that even in the stillness, the cemetery is alive with stories, shadows, and whispers that have endured through generations. Each visit becomes an encounter with history, mystery, and the gentle, persistent presence of those who remain among the stones. Memory Hill Cemetery in Milledgeville stretches across gently rolling hills, its gravestones rising like silent sentinels over the memories of countless lives. But as dusk settles and shadows lengthen, the atmosphere transforms, becoming charged with an unspoken presence, a feeling that something unseen is moving among the stones. Figures are often reported drifting between the gravestones. They move silently, their forms indistinct, fading in and out of view. Visitors speak of glimpsing shapes at the edges of their vision, only to find nothing when they turn to look. These fleeting encounters leave a deep sense of curiosity, tinged with unease, as if the cemetery itself is alive and aware of those who walk its paths. Footsteps are heard echoing through the grounds, though no living person can be seen. They come from behind mausoleums, along narrow pathways, or across open lawns. The sound of walking in a place meant for the still and silent heightens the feeling that Memory Hill is inhabited by more than just memories. Each step seems deliberate, measured, and profoundly mysterious. Some graves appear to emit a faint glow. It is not a harsh light, but a soft, ethereal illumination that seems to pulse in rhythm with the heartbeat of the night. The glow often highlights inscriptions or carvings, making ancient names and dates momentarily visible. Those who approach these graves find the light shifting or vanishing altogether, as if the energy within the cemetery is selective, revealing itself only to those who watch closely. Shadowy forms vanish when approached. Visitors describe the frustration of moving toward a dark shape, only for it to dissolve into the night air. This elusiveness adds the mystique of Memory Hill, creating a sense that the spirits or presences here are aware, observing, and choosing to remain just beyond human reach. It is a place where the boundary between the living and the dead feels remarkably thin. The natural features of the cemetery enhance its haunting quality. Towering oaks with gnarled branches stretch over narrow pathways, casting long, twisting shadows under moonlight. Fog occasionally drifts across the landscape, softening the lines between gravestones and the earth itself. Every rustle of leaves and sigh of the wind seems amplified, carrying whispers that may or may not belong to the living. Architecture within the cemetery provides additional intrigue. Angels carved in stone watch from high pedestals, their faces serene yet unsettling in the shifting light. The oldest sections of Memory Hill are particularly active, where shadowy figures and glowing graves appear with the greatest frequency, making these areas a focus of fascination for those seeking the unexplained. Encounters are often brief, but leave lasting impressions. A sudden glow between stones, a shadow moving with purpose. or footsteps that follow for only a few moments create a palpable tension. The cemetery seems to reward careful observation, offering glimpses of the unseen, while keeping its full mysteries just out of reach. Visitors leave with a heightened sense of awareness, often carrying the memory of the unseen long after they have departed. Sounds contribute to the immersive atmosphere. Whispers curl along the pathways, faint and impossible to locate. Leaves scrape against stone monuments in ways that suggest deliberate motion. Even the rustle of the wind through trees can take on an almost human quality, blending seamlessly with the cemetery-esque natural sounds to form a symphony of eerie, subtle activity. Memory Hill Cemetery is a place where time feels suspended. The past is present, not in the form of history alone, but through the persistent, often fleeting presence of those who have come before. Shadows, footsteps, and glowing lights combined create a layered experience that engages the senses and challenges perception. It is a cemetery where history, memory, and the inexplicable converge, leaving visitors both awed and unsettled. Walking to the grounds at night, one feels a profound connection to what has been and what remains unseen. Every gravestone, every tree, and every shadow contributes to the sense that Memory Hill is more than a resting place. It is a space where the living brush against the echoes of the departed, where the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist, and where each step taken becomes a small journey into mystery, reflection, and quiet awe. Memory Hill Cemetery stands as a testament to lives once lived and mysteries that endure. Its landscape, monuments, and supernatural phenomena create a compelling, immersive experience. Shadows drift, lights glow, footsteps echo, and whispers linger. Those who visit leave with a sense that they have touched something timeless, a place where memory and presence intertwine, to create a haunting, unforgettable atmosphere that exists just beyond the edges of sight. Rest Haven Cemetery in Valdosta spreads across rolling acres, a historic landscape steeped in memory and quiet reflection. Ancient trees arch over winding paths, their limbs heavy with Spanish moss that drifts in the breeze like spectral veils. Headstones of varying sizes and styles mark the resting places of generations, some weathered by time, others standing sharp and pristine, each telling a story of lives long past yet not entirely forgotten. Visitors to Rest Haven often speak of glowing shapes appearing in the darkness, soft lights that hover above graves or drift along the pathways. These lights do not illuminate the surroundings in a conventional way, but rather suggest forms and movements just beyond clear perception. Observers describe a sensation of being drawn to them, an almost magnetic pull that blends curiosity with subtle unease. The lights seem to be calling to them, an otherworldly summons that defies rational understanding. Figures sometimes emerge silently from the shadows, their presence fleeting and enigmatic. They move without sound, slipping behind monuments or along the edges of pathways, as if conscious of being observed. Those who encounter them often report a sense of being watched, a quiet awareness that the cemetery is alive with the echoes of the past. The figures vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving only the lingering impression of something just out of reach, something that defies conventional explanation. Whispers travel through the trees and along empty paths, soft voices that seem to rise and fall with the wind. They are indistinct, carrying fragments of words or tones that suggest communication, yet resist understanding. These whispers, coupled with the visual phenomena, create an atmosphere both serene and unsettling, where every step feels imbued with history and mystery. The layout of Rest Haven enhances its enigmatic qualities. Narrow lanes wind between clusters of tall monuments, creating pockets of shadow where light struggles to penetrate. The contrast of open lawns and dense groves of trees fosters an unpredictable environment where glimpses of movement or flickers of illumination can appear unexpectedly. The experience is immersive, drawing visitors into a world that balances the tangible reality of the landscape with subtle supernatural undertones. At night, the cemetery transforms further. The faint glow of distant streetlights or passing cars does little to dispel the pervasive darkness, allowing shadows to deepen and shifting forms to take on new dimensions. The glowing shapes become more pronounced, figures more elusive, and the whispers more insistent, carrying to the air with a clarity that seems almost purposeful. The combination of these elements creates a cinematic tension where anticipation and wonder intertwine, and every detail of the surroundings becomes part of an unfolding story. Rest Haven Cemetery also offers moments of quiet beauty amid its unexplained phenomena. Moonlight filters through the moss-laden trees, casting intricate patterns across the gravestones and illuminating details of carving and texture. The air carries a scent of earth, foliage, and history, grounding visitors in the physicality of the space, even as their senses perceive something beyond. These natural qualities enhance the haunting atmosphere, reinforcing the idea that the cemetery is a place where the past and present coexist. The experiences at Rest Haven leave lasting impressions. Many visitors speak of feelings of calm interwoven with tension, a heightened awareness that the space is more than simply a burial ground. The glowing shapes, silent figures, and distant whispers create a narrative that is not fully understood but profoundly felt. The cemetery encourages reflection on mortality, memory, and the lingering impact of lives once lived, offering encounters that are at once mysterious and respectful. Footsteps echo in the darkness along empty avenues, sometimes aligning with the movements of unseen figures. Doors of mausoleums, old gates, and even simple fences seem to interact with those who wander grounds, opening slightly or shifting with gusts of wind in ways that suggest intelligence or intention. These subtle occurrences contribute to the impression that Rest Haven is a space that retains a consciousness, or at least a memory, of those who reside there. Even as dawn approaches, the sense of the extraordinary persists. Shadows retreat, glowing shapes fade, and whispers are carried off with the morning breeze. Yet the experience of the night lingers in memory. Visitors leave with stories, impressions, and a heightened sensitivity to the presence of history and the unexplained. Rest Haven Cemetery stands as a testament to the enduring resonance of place, a location where time, memory, and subtle supernatural phenomena converge to create a profound and cinematic encounter. Walking among the headstones and under the canopies of ancient trees, one cannot help but feel the weight of the past and the persistence of what cannot be seen. Rest Haven Cemetery in Valdosta is more than a historical site. It is a living narrative, an environment with a quiet interplay of light, shadow, and presence invites exploration, reflection, and a recognition of the mysteries that continue to inhabit its grounds. Rose Hill Cemetery in Valdosta is a place where the boundary between the living and the departed feels remarkably thin. By day, it is quiet and solemn, with towering trees casting long shadows over the rows of historic tombstones. The air carries a scent of aged earth and fallen leaves, a gentle reminder of the lives memorialized here. Yet as night falls, the cemetery transforms, revealing an atmosphere charged with unseen presence. Shadowy forms often appear near old tombstones. These figures are fleeting, glimpsed at the edge of vision, vanishing when approached, but profoundly aware. The shadows move with a quiet deliberation, weaving between graves and around monuments as though tracing the echoes of lives long ended. Glowing lights drift across the pathways. The lights do not conform to any natural source. They appear to float and meander with purpose. Observers often describe a sense of calm and curiosity, mingled with tension, as if the lights themselves are guiding attention to something unseen yet meaningful. Visitors hear faint crying and soft laughter that seems to rise from the ground itself. These sounds are intermittent, drifting across the cemetery with the wind, creating a haunting melody that is both eerie and oddly comforting. The crying is delicate, resonating in the still night, while the laughter feels almost playful, a reminder that the presence here is not entirely somber. Each sound evokes a mixture of fascination and apprehension, drawing attention to the cemeteria's living history. Some mausoleum doors lock on their own. The phenomenon occurs without warning, creating a sense of isolation for those inside. The click of a lock or the sudden swing of a door is enough to heighten awareness, making a visitor pause and consider the unseen forces at work. These moments leave an impression that the cemetery is not merely a resting place for the dead, but a space where the past actively communicates with the present. The interplay of light and shadow in Rose Hill Cemetery enhances the atmosphere. Ancient oaks cast long, shifting shadows that move with the breeze, making the ground feel alive. Tombstones create pockets of darkness, and pathways wind unpredictably, encouraging a heightened sense of alertness. Observers report that the shadows sometimes appear to take human shapes, forming figures that seem to interact silently with the environment. Sounds in the cemetery heighten the sense of presence. The rustling of leaves can mimic footsteps, while distant animal calls may be mistaken for movement among the graves. Each noise draws attention and keeps visitors alert, making every step feel intentional and suspenseful. Even the cool night air becomes a sensory component, brushing against skin and adding a tactile reminder that something unseen is near. Patterns emerge for those who spend time in the cemetery. Shadows tend to gather near the oldest stones, while glowing lights often hover above significant markers. The sounds of laughter and crying concentrate in areas where clusters of graves suggest communal history. These recurring elements lend continuity to the phenomena, suggesting that the spirits are bound to their environment in ways that are deliberate and meaningful. The historical significance of Rose Hill Cemetery adds depth to its spectral reputation. Each tombstone carries names, dates, and inscriptions that tell stories of individuals and families who lived, loved, and died in the region. The weight of these memories infuses the cemetery with an aura of reverence, suggesting that the shadowy forms and lights are not random, but echoes of people whose lives are preserved in the very earth itself. Visitors often feel a connection to these stories, sensing that the presence is both protective and watchful. Emotionally, the cemetery evokes a mix of awe and reflection. There is fascination in witnessing phenomena that cannot be fully explained, paired with a natural tension from the unknown. This blend creates an immersive experience that engages both the mind and senses, encouraging careful observation and quiet contemplation. The visitor's awareness becomes finely tuned to the subtle shifts in light, movement, and sound. As night deepens, the cemetery's mysterious qualities intensify. Shadowy figures drift among the stones, glowing lights float along pathways, and soft sounds echo in the darkness. Mausoleum doors continue their inexplicable movements, reinforcing the impression that Rose Hill Cemetery is a space where history, memory, and spirit intersect. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences creates an immersive narrative that draws observers into the cemetery's living story. By the time dawn approaches, the ethereal activity diminishes. The shadows retreat, the lights fade, and the crying and laughter fall silent. Yet the impression of having witnessed the extraordinary lingers. Visitors leave Rose Hill Cemetery with a sense of having walked alongside unseen presences, an understanding that the past remains palpably present. The cemetery is not just a resting place for the departed, but a dynamic landscape where memory and spirit continue to shape the night. Rose Hill Cemetery offers a hauntingly beautiful experience. The shadowy forms, drifting lights, and subtle sounds create an atmosphere of mystery and contemplation. It is a place where history and the supernatural converge, leaving visitors with lasting impressions and a sense of connection to the unseen. Each step through its pathways is a journey into a space where the echoes of the past remain alive, and where the presence of those who came before continues to be felt long after night has fallen. Bethlehem Baptist Cemetery in Atlanta is a quiet, solemn place by day, its rows of graves stretching beneath ancient trees. The headstones vary in age, some weathered by decades of rain and sun, others newer, standing crisp against the soft grass. Visitors come to pay respects or to walk its winding paths, often struck by the calm, almost meditative atmosphere that pervades the cemetery. As night falls, the cemetery transforms. Shadows gather the edges of the grounds, moving silently in ways that seem almost intentional. These figures are rarely clear, often taking the form of vague shapes that drift among the trees and headstones. Witnesses describe a sense of being watched, as if unseen eyes track every step along the quiet paths. The experience is unsettling, yet strangely compelling, drawing attention to the deeper history that rests within the cemetery. Some graves appear to emit a soft, unnatural glow. The glow hovers over specific markers, highlighting names and dates in a way that feels deliberate, almost as though the cemetery itself is guiding the attention of those who walk its grounds. Visitors often pause, staring at the light, feeling a connection to lives commemorated there and to something beyond the ordinary world. Whispers drift across the grounds, faint and elusive. They seem to come from no specific source, weaving through the trees and between the stones. Some visitors report hearing their own names spoken softly, carried on the night air with persistence that cannot be explained. The whispers are never threatening, but they are deeply disquieting, prompting a heightened awareness of the environment and the unseen presence that seems to inhabit it. Shadowy figures occasionally vanish into the darkness, leaving a sudden emptiness in their place. They move with a deliberate quiet, appearing at the edge of vision and then fading, as if the night itself absorbs them. Observers describe a mixture of fascination and unease, the feeling that the cemetery is alive with memories and spirits that exist just beyond perception. The disappearance of these forms only reinforces a sense that Bethlehem Baptist Cemetery is a place where the past and present intersect in mysterious ways. The layout of the cemetery contributes to its haunting character. Old oak and magnolia trees create dense canopies that cast long shadows across the headstones. Narrow paths wind between graves, leading to corners where light and visibility are limited. These spaces seem to invite encounters with the unknown, places where figures may appear or vanish. Places where figures may appear or vanish, and where whispers are amplified by the stillness. Where whispers are amplified by the stillness. Visitors describe moments when ordinary sensations become extraordinary. A sudden chill in the air, a faint rustle of leaves, or a shadow moving just beyond the line of sight can provoke intense awareness. These subtle events create a heightened sensitivity to the surroundings, encouraging observers to notice details that might otherwise be overlooked. Every movement, every sound, and every shifting shadow contributes to the atmosphere of mystery that permeates the cemetery after dark. These moments create a heightened sensitivity to the surroundings, encouraging observers to notice details that might otherwise be overlooked. The spirits of Bethlehem Baptist Cemetery are patient and deliberate. Apparitions may appear briefly, whispers may linger for moments, and glowing lights may shift from one grave to another. These interactions feel intentional, as though the cemetery and its residents are communicating through subtle signs and gestures. Witnesses often report a lingering impression after leaving, a sense that they have glimpsed something beyond the ordinary, an encounter with the persistent memory of lives long past. Despite the eerie occurrences, the cemetery maintains a sense of respect and solemnity. Visitors often feel a mixture of awe and caution, aware that the experiences are part of a larger narrative of remembrance. The glow of graves, the whispers, and the shadowy figures all serve to deepen the connection to the history contained within the grounds. The supernatural elements enhance the cemetery-esque story rather than detract from it, creating an immersive experience that is both reflective and mysterious. Nightfall transforms the environment, casting familiar paths into a realm of uncertainty. Figures may drift along tree lines, whispers echo between headstones, and lights may glow where none should exist. Figures may drift along tree lines, whispers echo between headstones, and lights may glow where none should exist. Figures may drift along tree lines, whispers echo between headstones, and lights may glow where none should exist. Each of these phenomena invites contemplation, encouraging visitors to consider the lives represented in the cemetery and the unseen presence that lingers among them. Each of these phenomena invites contemplation, encouraging visitors to consider the lives represented in the cemetery and the unseen presence that lingers among them. Each of these phenomena invites contemplation, encouraging visitors to consider the lives represented in the cemetery and the unseen presence that lingers among them. The interplay of light, shadow, and sound makes Bethlehem Baptist Cemetery a place where the boundary between the living and the departed feels exceptionally thin. Each of these phenomena invites contemplation, encouraging visitors to consider the lives represented in the cemetery and the unseen presence that lingers among them. The interplay of light, shadow, and sound makes Bethlehem Baptist Cemetery a place where the boundary between the living and the departed feels exceptionally thin. Every visit to Bethlehem Baptist Cemetery is a journey into history and mystery. The paths, shadows, and glowing lights create a dynamic environment where the past seems to coexist with the present. Observers are drawn into an atmosphere of quiet intrigue, where every moment holds a potential for an encounter with something beyond ordinary understanding. The cemetery becomes more than a resting place. It becomes a space where stories endure and where the presence of the departed is felt as keenly as the life that remains. By the end of a night at Bethlehem Baptist Cemetery, the impressions linger. Shadowy figures, whispers, and glowing graves create memories that resonate long after leaving the grounds. The cemetery stands as a testament to the power of memory, history, and presence, where the living are invited to witness, reflect, and perhaps even feel the subtle touch of the unseen. In every path, every shadow, and every whisper, the stories of those who rest here remain alive, quietly shaping the experience of all who wander through the night. Bethlehem Baptist Cemetery is a place where time feels suspended, where the past reaches toward the present, and where the boundary between the living and the departed becomes a subtle, yet palpable experience. Each step along its paths offers a possibility of witnessing the extraordinary, a reminder that some stories continue long after life has ended, and that the cemetery is a silent keeper of those enduring echoes. Evergreen Cemetery in Gainesville stretches across gently rolling terrain, its ancient gravestones rising amid a sea of moss-draped oaks. By day, the grounds are serene, a quiet sanctuary for reflection. But as night falls, the cemetery takes on a different presence. The air grows cooler, shadows lengthen, and the atmosphere becomes charged with something unseen, something that moves just beyond perception. Visitors often report seeing ghostly lights floating among the graves. They drift slowly, weaving between headstones and mausoleums, appearing and disappearing without warning. The lights are soft, ethereal, and never harsh, casting a gentle glow that illuminates only fragments of surrounding landscape. Their presence suggests more than mere reflections or distant lanterns. It is as if the spirits themselves choose to reveal their existence briefly, then vanish, leaving only the memory of their fleeting illumination. Figures appear silently at night. Visitors describe shadows that move between the tombstones with deliberate grace. They are indistinct, almost transparent, but undeniably human in form. These figures glide along pathways, pause beside certain graves, and sometimes seem to observe those who enter the cemetery. Attempts to approach them are often futile, as they dissipate or melt into darkness before one can get close, leaving a lingering sense of both wonder and unease. Some who walk through Evergreen Cemetery feel icy hands touch their shoulders. The sensation is fleeting yet unmistakable, as if a presence brushes against the living to make its awareness known. It is never harmful, but it sends a shiver down the spine, heightening the awareness of the spectral activity all around. The experience leaves visitors acutely sensitive to every rustle of leaves, every shift of shadows, and every distant sound echoing across the grounds. Whispers echo through the moss-covered trees, carried softly on the wind. They are not always words, but often a sense of presence that communicates longing, warning, or curiosity. Sometimes they seem to call names. At other times they blend with the natural sounds of the night, the creaking of branches, the distant flutter of wings, or the rustling of leaves underfoot. These whispers add an auditory layer to the cemetery's haunting beauty, making the night alive with unseen life. The natural features of Evergreen Cemetery amplify its eerie atmosphere. Towering oaks and pines create shadows that twist and sway, forming patterns that seem almost deliberate. Moss hangs in thick curtains from the branches, softening the shapes of the monuments and gravestones, and giving the entire landscape a sense of timeless mystery. Fog often drifts through the cemetery, obscuring paths and distorting light, creating moments when the ordinary becomes strange and the familiar becomes otherworldly. Architecture within the cemetery adds to the allure. Angels carved in marble watch silently over grounds, their features solemn yet unnerving under the shifting light. These structures provide both a physical and symbolic anchor for the spirits that seem to linger here, offering glimpses of the past interwoven with the present. The spirits that seem to linger here. Encounters at Evergreen Cemetery are often brief but profound. A ghostly light may appear just ahead on a pathway. A shadow may pause near an old grave, or a whisper may brush the edge of perception. These moments are fleeting, yet they leave an impression that lingers long after visitors leave. The cemetery does not reveal its secrets fully, but instead invites careful observation, patience, and a willingness to acknowledge the unseen. Sound contributes significantly to the experience. Footsteps that seem to follow, faint laughter, or the soft creak of gates opening and closing without wind all create a layered tapestry of auditory phenomena. Even natural sounds, the rustling of leaves, the sighing of the wind through the trees, seem amplified, blending with the spectral to create an immersive, almost cinematic environment that feels alive with mystery. Evergreen Cemetery is a place where time feels suspended. Past and present coexist, with the spirits of those long gone walking among the living. Shadowy figures, ghostly lights, icy touches, and whispered voices combine to create a layered experience that challenges perception and encourages reflection. Each step through the grounds is a journey through memory, mystery, and the unknown, with the spirits of those long gone walking among the living. Each step through the grounds is a journey through memory, mystery, and the unknown, a place where time feels suspended. Walking to the cemetery at night, one becomes aware of a presence that watches, observes, and perhaps even interacts. Every gravestone, every twisted tree branch, and every drifting light contributes to a sense that Evergreen Cemetery is more than a resting place. It is a living archive of the past, a space where the boundary between the living and the departed is permeable, and where each visitor encounters the delicate, haunting intersection of history and the supernatural. Evergreen Cemetery stands as a testament to the lives it shelters and the mysteries that endure. The glowing lights, drifting figures, whisper voices, and icy touches create an immersive and unforgettable experience. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness of the unseen, carrying with them the memory of a place where shadows move, whispers linger, and the past continues to breathe among the living. Oakwood Cemetery in Atlanta stretches across rolling acres, a sanctuary of history where time seems to linger among ancient trees and weathered headstones. The air carries the quiet weight of countless lives, each marked by monuments of stone, wrought iron, and marble. Pathways wind to grounds, shaded by towering oaks whose branches sway gently, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow across the graves below. The camera pans out to reveal the vast expanse of the cemetery, stretching out across the rolling acres like a sea of weathered headstones and twisted trees. Visitors often speak of glowing graves, lights that appear without explanation, flickering along the edges of monuments or hovering just above the earth. The illumination is subtle, ethereal, as if the cemetery itself is offering glimpses of something beyond the ordinary. These glows sometimes emerge near the oldest sections, where marble has weathered a soft gray and inscriptions have faded, adding to the sense of timeless mystery. Figures occasionally appear along the pathways, moving silently through the trees and gravestones. They are rarely fully seen, often just glimpsed in the corner of the eye or appearing momentarily between shadows. Their presence is unmistakable, a silent acknowledgement of those who once walked the grounds and may linger still. Witnesses describe a sensation of being observed, a quiet awareness that Oakwood is not entirely empty, that its history continues to resonate in the spaces between the stones. The old mausoleums carry their own aura of intrigue. Doors seem to move on their own, closing without cause or shifting slightly as if in response to unseen footsteps. The subtle sound of hinges, echoes in hallways, and the distant rustle of leaves enhance the impression that the cemetery is alive in its own quiet way. Every detail contributes to an atmosphere that is immersive and deeply evocative, where the past and present feel intertwined. Oakwood Cemetery's layout encourages both exploration and reflection. Narrow paths lead through densely planted sections, creating intimate pockets of shadow and light. Open lawns contrast with shaded groves, providing unexpected vistas where glowing graves or fleeting figures can appear without warning. The interplay of natural and architectural elements heightens the cinematic quality of the experience, inviting visitors to move slowly, notice details, and feel the subtle tension of being in a space imbued with history and mystery. At night, the cemetery takes on an even more enigmatic character. Moonlight filters through branches, illuminating paths and monuments with a soft, silver glow. Shadows stretch and shift, sometimes forming shapes that suggest movement, sometimes revealing the faint outlines of figures that vanish as quickly as they appear. The glowing graves become more distinct, the sense of being watched more pronounced, and the old mausoleums seem to hold secrets that the day conceals. Whispers of wind, the creak of iron gates, and distant rustling combine to create an auditory backdrop that complements the visual phenomena. Sounds carry differently here, bending through the open spaces and between gravestones, amplifying every step and every movement. Visitors often report a heightened awareness of these subtle noises, a sense that every sound has significance, that the cemetery itself communicates in ways both tangible and unseen. Even amid the mystery, Oakwood Cemetery offers moments of serene beauty. The interplay of light and shadow, the intricate carvings on monuments, and the sweeping vistas of the grounds convey a deep sense of history and artistry. The presence of unexplained phenomena does not overwhelm, but enhances these qualities, reminding visitors that the cemetery is a place where memory, reverence, and the unknown converge. Experiences at Oakwood leave lasting impressions. Many describe a mixture of awe and unease, a recognition that the cemetery holds layers of stories and experiences that extend beyond the living. These phenomena invite reflection on the passage of time, the endurance of memory, and the subtle presence of those who may linger beyond their earthly life. Footsteps along the pathways, echoing softly among the stones, sometimes seem to follow visitors, aligning with glimpses of figures or movements in the shadows. Every turn, every shaded grove offers potential for unexpected encounters, moments where the environment and the unexplained interact seamlessly. This continuous tension between the familiar and the mysterious is what makes Oakwood a compelling destination, a site where history, natural beauty, and subtle paranormal activity coexist. By morning, the cemetery settles into a quiet calm. Shadows shorten, glowing lights fade, and the subtle sensations of the night recede, leaving the visitor with a sense of having touched something profound and elusive. Oakwood Cemetery in Atlanta is more than a historic resting place. It is a living tableau of memory, presence, and mystery. Every pathway, monument, and shaded corner contributes to a narrative that is both cinematic and deeply immersive, offering encounters that linger in the mind long after departure. Walking among the gravestones and ancient oaks, the weight of history and the quiet persistence of the unseen, story spirits and natural beauty converge, inviting exploration, contemplation, and the recognition of the subtle, enduring mysteries that inhabit its grounds. Elmwood Cemetery in Macon is a place where history and mystery intertwine, and the boundary between the living and the departed feels almost imperceptible. By day, the cemetery appears serene, with sprawling oak trees casting shadows across meticulously maintained pathways. Rows of aged tombstones rise from the earth, each telling a story of lives once lived, of families and legacies preserved in stone. Yet as night falls, the atmosphere shifts, revealing an undercurrent of the unexplained. Shadowy forms wander the grounds. Observers often report fleeting figures moving silently among the graves. Their shapes are undefined and transient. They appear at the edge of vision, only to vanish, leaving a lingering sense of presence. The figures move with purpose, and their quiet passage imbues the cemetery. Despite its function as a resting place, glowing apparitions appear over certain graves. These lights are soft yet distinct, hovering just above the earth and casting an ethereal glow onto nearby headstones. They do not flicker or behave like natural lights, instead drifting slowly and deliberately across the cemetery. Visitors describe a feeling of calm fascination mixed with apprehension, as if the lights are a bridge between the past and the present, illuminating histories long buried yet never forgotten. Faint voices and footsteps can be heard among the trees and pathways. They are subtle and intermittent, rising and falling with the wind, creating the impression of a hidden world running parallel to the one visitors occupy. The whispers are often indecipherable, carrying tones of sorrow, conversation, or distant laughter. Footsteps echo softly across the stone and dirt, sometimes approaching, sometimes receding, reinforcing the sensation that unseen beings are active within the cemetery. Some feel a presence following silently. It is not threatening, but undeniably perceptible. A weight upon the senses that signals attentiveness is required. Visitors report a sense that the cemetery itself watches and responds to movement. The presence seems to linger near those exploring the grounds, attentive to their actions, and subtly influencing the atmosphere of every pathway and graveyard row. The interplay of light, shadow, and sound enhances the immersive experience. Pathways wind unpredictably, guiding movement and sightlines in a manner that creates anticipation and suspense. The glowing apparitions draw the eye to particular graves, while shadows and peripheral vision suggest life where none should exist. Each sound becomes significant, from the rustle of leaves to the faint creak of weathered stone underfoot. Patterns emerge for those who spend extended time in Elmwood Cemetery. Apparitions tend to gather near older graves, areas that carry the weight of communal memory. Voices often concentrate in certain sections, perhaps echoing the stories of those buried there. Shadowy forms are observed near monuments or along pathways, their presence reinforcing the feeling that the cemetery is alive in a manner beyond the ordinary. These patterns lend cohesion to the experience, suggesting an intentionality behind phenomena. The historical significance of the cemetery intensifies the spectral experience. Every stone marks a life, and many are intricately carved with symbols of remembrance. These markers tell stories of families, achievements, and losses, and a lingering presence in the cemetery often feels connected to these histories. Visitors sense that the apparitions and shadowy forms are not random, but echoes of people whose existence remains entwined with the land they once walked. Emotionally, Elmwood Cemetery evokes both wonder and reflection. The shadows, lights, and subtle sounds engage the senses and the imagination, prompting curiosity about the lives memorialized here. The presence of unseen forces adds tension, encouraging quiet observation and careful attention. Visitors report feelings of both comfort and unease, as the energy of the departed seems simultaneously watchful, protective, and ever-present. As night deepens, the phenomena grow more pronounced. Shadowy figures drift among tombstones. Glowing lights hover with purpose, and faint voices and footsteps resonate throughout the grounds. The presence that follows silently becomes more perceptible, a reminder that the cemetery is not just a resting place, but an active space where memory and spirit coexist. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences creates a narrative that feels alive, drawing observers into the living story of the cemetery. By dawn, the apparitions fade, the shadows retreat, and the voices fall silent. Yet the impression of the extraordinary lingers, leaving visitors with a sense of having experienced something beyond the ordinary. Elmwood Cemetery remains a place where history, memory, and the supernatural converge, a space where the echoes of the past continue to move quietly among the living. Walking through Elmwood Cemetery is a journey into a world where every stone, shadow, and flicker of light tells a story. The presence of those who came before shapes the night, offering a hauntingly beautiful glimpse into the interplay of life, death, and memory. For those who venture here after dark, the experience is immersive, contemplative, and unforgettable, a reminder that some places remain alive long after people who built them have passed. The sun begins its slow descent over the historic city of Savannah, casting long shadows that stretch across the winding paths of Hollywood Cemetery. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and aged stone, and the gentle sway of Spanish moss draped over ancient oaks gives the grounds a timeless, almost otherworldly quality. Figures drift silently under the trees, their forms barely discernible as they move with deliberate grace, almost as if drawn by some unseen force. Each grave tells a story, a fragment of lives long past yet not forgotten. Some emit a faint glowing light, a soft shimmer that rises and falls as if breathing with the memories of those laid to rest. Visitors speak of sensing a presence, a weight in the air that is heavy with history, and some claim to hear whispers of names long gone, carried on the evening breeze. The voices are subtle, almost playful, calling attention to lives once vibrant, now hidden beneath the moss and stone. The pathways curve gently, revealing crypts and mausoleums that have stood for centuries. Their doors close without explanation, the sound echoing softly in the quiet night. Shadows seem to gather around the corners, shifting and retreating with a life of their own, inviting a sense of curiosity tinged with unease. As you move deeper into the cemetery, the glow from certain graves becomes more pronounced, illuminating inscriptions worn by time and weather. Each carving tells a story of love, loss, and legacy. The names etched in stone a testament to the enduring presence of those who came before. Some visitors pause, captivated by the subtle illumination, sensing an energy that feels both peaceful and restless. A quiet reminder of mortality and memory entwined. The trees sway gently, their leaves whispering against one another in a soft, haunting rhythm. In the stillness, the air seems alive with anticipation, as if the cemetery itself is watching, waiting. Figures in the distance move just beyond the edge of vision, drifting silently as if performing a ritual lost to time. There's a rhythm to their movements, a cadence that feels both natural and uncanny. Crypts stand solemnly, their stone doors bearing the weight of centuries. Occasionally, they shift, closing with a finality that startles the unwary. Some claim to have seen faint figures disappear into these structures, leaving no trace behind. The energy in these spaces is palpable, a mixture of reverence and unease, drawing visitors to linger, even as the unknown presses close. The layout of Hollywood Cemetery is a labyrinth of history and memory. Winding paths lead to secluded corners where the light barely touches the earth, and the shadows seem thicker, almost tangible. In these places, stories seem to settle, whispers carried through the moss-laden branches and over the weathered stones. Each plot holds echoes of moments frozen in time, from joyous celebrations of life to solemn farewells marked by sorrow and reflection. As night approaches, the cemetery transforms. The glowing lights appear stronger, pulsing gently, guiding visitors along paths, as if pointing toward forgotten stories. The whispers become clearer, distinct names calling softly, yet never harshly. It is a delicate balance between the living and the departed, a space where history and the present coexist in quiet harmony. Some visitors report sensations that defy explanation. A cold brush on the shoulder, a fleeting shadow at the corner of vision, a feeling of being observed yet untouched. It is in these moments that the cemetery reveals its dual nature, offering both serenity and suspense, drawing the curious and the brave into its embrace. Each encounter, fleeting or lingering, contributes to the mystery that surrounds Hollywood Cemetery, ensuring its reputation as a place where the past is never fully at rest. Every turn holds a new discovery, from family plots adorned with time-worn statues, to solitary graves standing alone amidst the sprawling oaks. The architecture of the tombs, the careful arrangement of stones, and the quiet dignity of each memorial create a canvas for both reflection and imagination. Visitors are encouraged to walk slowly, to listen with more than just their ears, and to feel with more than just their minds. The cemetery rewards attentiveness, revealing subtle signs of life beyond the living, echoes of those who have shaped the space through centuries. As the final light fades and darkness envelopes the grounds, Hollywood Cemetery transforms once again. The glow from the graves persists, a soft, ethereal beacon in the night. Figures continue to drift among the trees, moving with the quiet purpose of the unseen. Whispers of names linger, carried by the wind, as if inviting new stories to be woven into the fabric of the cemetery. Each visitor leaves with a sense of having glimpsed something extraordinary, a fleeting brush with a presence that is as enigmatic as it is enduring. In this place, where history and mystery intertwine, the cemetery stands as a testament to the lives it holds and the stories it keeps. Hollywood Cemetery is more than a resting place. It is a living memory, a space where the past continues to speak to the present, and where every shadow and glow invites wonder, reflection, and awe. The air remains thick with possibility, as the drifting figures and glowing graves remind us that some stories are never truly finished, lingering silently beneath the moss-covered trees for those who dare to notice. Evergreen Cemetery in Gainesville stretches across gently rolling terrain, its ancient gravestones rising amid a sea of moss-draped oaks. But as night falls, the cemetery takes on a different presence. The air grows cooler, shadows lengthen, and the atmosphere becomes charged with something unseen, something that moves just beyond perception. Visitors often report seeing ghostly lights floating among the graves. They drift slowly, weaving between headstones and mausoleums, appearing and disappearing without warning. The lights are soft, ethereal, and never harsh, casting a gentle glow that illuminates only fragments of surrounding landscape. Figures appear silently at night. Visitors describe shadows that move between the tombstones with deliberate grace. They are indistinct, almost transparent, but undeniably human in form. These figures glide along pathways, pause beside certain graves, and sometimes seem to observe those who enter the cemetery. Attempts to approach them are often futile, as they dissipate or melt into the darkness before one can get close, leaving a lingering sense of both wonder and unease. Some who walk through Evergreen Cemetery feel icy hands touch their shoulders. The sensation is fleeting yet unmistakable, as if a presence brushes against the living to make its awareness known. It is never harmful, but it sends a shiver down the spine, heightening the awareness of the spectral activity all around. The experience leaves visitors acutely sensitive to every rustle of leaves, every shift of shadows, and every distant sound echoing across the grounds. Whispers echo through the moss-covered trees, carried softly on the wind. They are not always words, but often a sense of presence that communicates longing, warning, or curiosity. Sometimes they seem to call names. At other times they blend with the natural sounds of the night, the creaking of branches, the distant flutter of wings, or the rustling of leaves underfoot. These whispers add an auditory layer to the cemetery's haunting beauty, making the night alive with unseen life. Towering oaks and pines create shadows that twist and sway, forming patterns that seem almost deliberate. Moss hangs in thick curtains from the branches, softening the shapes of the monuments and gravestones, and giving the entire landscape a sense of timeless mystery. Fog often drifts through the cemetery, obscuring paths and distorting light, creating moments when the ordinary becomes strange and the familiar becomes otherworldly. Architecture within the cemetery adds to the allure. Angels carved in marble watch silently over grounds, their features solemn yet unnerving under the shifting light. These structures provide both a physical and symbolic anchor for the spirits that seem to linger here, offering glimpses of the past interwoven with the present. Encounters at Evergreen Cemetery are often brief but profound. A ghostly light may appear just ahead on a pathway, a shadow may pause near an old grave, or a whisper may brush the edge of perception. These moments are fleeting, yet they leave an impression that lingers long after visitors leave. The cemetery does not reveal its secrets fully, but instead invites careful observation, patience, and a willingness to acknowledge the unseen. Sound contributes significantly to the experience. Footsteps that seem to follow, faint laughter, or the soft creak of gates opening and closing without wind all create a layered tapestry of auditory phenomena. The experience is a layered tapestry of auditory phenomena. Even natural sounds, the rustling of leaves, the sighing of the wind through the trees seem amplified. The spectral to create an immersive, almost cinematic environment that feels alive with mystery. Evergreen Cemetery is a place where time feels suspended. Past and present coexist, with the spirits of those long gone walking among the living. Shadowy figures, ghostly lights, icy touches, and whispered voices combine to create a layered experience that challenges perception and encourages reflection. Each step through the grounds is a journey through memory, mystery, and the unknown. Walking through the cemetery at night, one becomes aware of a presence that watches, observes, and perhaps even interacts. Every gravestone, every twisted tree branch, and every drifting light contributes to a sense that Evergreen Cemetery is more than a resting place. It is a living archive of the past, a space where the boundary between the living and the departed is permeable, and where each visitor encounters the delicate, haunting intersection of history and the supernatural. Evergreen Cemetery stands as a testament to the lives it shelters and the mysteries that endure. The glowing lights, drifting figures, whisper voices, and icy touches create an immersive and unforgettable experience. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness of the unseen, carrying with them the memory of a place where shadows move, whispers linger, and the past continues to breathe among the living. Evergreen Cemetery in Gainesville stretches across gently rolling grounds, its old gravestones standing like silent sentinels amid moss-draped oaks. By day, the cemetery feels peaceful, a quiet place of reflection and remembrance. But as night falls, the atmosphere changes, thickening with a sense of presence. Shadows lengthen and the air grows cooler, hinting at something unseen moving just beyond perception. They drift slowly between tombstones and crypts, appearing and disappearing without warning. They are not harsh or intrusive, but carry a presence that feels alive, a fleeting glimpse into a world hidden from ordinary sight. These shapes are indistinct, almost transparent, yet unmistakably human in form. They vanish when approached, leaving a lingering sense of wonder and unease. Observers describe the feeling of being watched, of a silent awareness that exists in the stillness, moving among the stones. Some visitors feel icy hands on their shoulders. The touch is brief and sudden, sending a chill through the body. It is never threatening, but it marks a palpable interaction with the unseen, heightening awareness of every rustle of leaves, every creak of the ground, and every whisper carried by the wind. Whispers echo through the moss-covered trees, carried softly on the night air. Sometimes they are incomprehensible murmurs, other times faint calls of names long buried. These sounds blend with the natural environmenta, the rustling of leaves, the sighing of branches, or the distant flutter of wingsa, creating a sense that the cemetery itself is alive with voices from another time. The natural features of Evergreen Cemetery enhance its haunting ambience. Towering oaks cast twisting shadows under moonlight, while moss hangs in thick curtains that soften the shapes of the monuments. Occasional fog drifts across the grounds, obscuring paths and distorting light, turning familiar spaces into scenes of quiet mystery where the ordinary feels subtly otherworldly. Mausoleums and crypts add to the intrigue. Weathered stone facades bear the names of generations past, while angelic sculptures watch over the grounds with solemn expressions. These structures provide both a physical and symbolic anchor for the spirits, offering glimpses of history that merge with the present. Shadows often linger near these structures, and some crypts appear to emit a soft, unearthly glow. Encounters are often brief but unforgettable. A ghostly light may appear along a path. A figure may glide silently between graves, or whispers may brush the edge of perception. These moments leave an impression that endures long after leaving the cemetery. Evergreen Cemetery does not reveal its secrets fully, but encourages careful observation and patience to sense the unseen. Sounds play a crucial role in the experience. Footsteps that seem to follow, faint laughter, and the creak of gates moving without wind create a layered auditory presence. Even ordinary sounds, the rustling of leaves, the sighing of the breeze feel amplified, blending with the supernatural to create an immersive environment alive with mystery. Evergreen Cemetery is a place where time seems suspended. Past and present coexist, with the spirits of those long gone walking among the living. Shadowy forms, drifting lights, icy touches, and whispered voices converge to create a layered, haunting experience that challenges perception and invites reflection. Each step becomes a journey into memory, mystery, and the unknown. Walking to the cemetery at night, visitors sense a presence that watches, observes, and interacts in subtle ways. Every gravestone, twisted branch, and drifting light reinforces the feeling that Evergreen Cemetery is more than a resting place. It is a living archive of history and memory, where the boundary between the living and the departed is thin, and each visitor witnesses a delicate, haunting intersection of past and present. Evergreen Cemetery stands as a testament to lives remembered and mysteries that endure. Its ghostly lights, drifting figures, whispered voices, and icy touches create an immersive and unforgettable experience. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness of the unseen, carrying the memory of a place where shadows move, whispers linger, and the past continues to breathe among the living. Visitors leave. Thank you for joining me tonight on this journey through 25 haunted cemeteries in Georgia. The stones are silent by day, but at night they glow with whispers, shadows, and restless spirits. Some visitors are never seen again. The moss-draped trees hold secrets too dark to speak aloud. The graves remember every step. If you ever find yourself walking among glowing stones at midnight, remember the stories you heard tonight. Respect the shadows, heed the whispers, and beware, for some graves may watch you back. Sleep well tonight, if you can.